boycotting the thing entirely. And speaking of the speech, we'll open the phone and text lines to hear about how you'll be watching or whether you're skipping it entirely, since you know Trump will say it's the best economy ever. Plus, some shenanigans of the cabinet members who may or may not be in attendance tonight. It's all ahead from a Jim's Red Room edition of Boston Public Radio.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. An NPR investigation finds dozens of pages of documents that mention President Trump are missing from the Epstein files database. NPR's Stephen Fowler reports those pages relate to accusations Trump sexually abused a minor more than 4 decades ago.
Internal documents from the FBI and Justice Department released in the files show investigators spoke to a woman 4 times who said she was abused by Trump in the mid-'80s when she was 13. But only her first interview is in the files with no mention of Trump. The Justice Department declined to answer NPR's questions on the record about these specific files, what's in them, and why they're not published. A White House spokeswoman said Trump has been, quote, totally exonerated, and he, quote, has done more for Epstein's victims than anyone before him. Stephen Fowler, NPR News, Atlanta.
President Trump will deliver his State of the Union speech tonight. Overnight, he imposed temporary global tariffs of 10% on goods imported into the U.S. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned some of Trump's tariffs last week. Trump has also vowed to boost the 10% tariff rate to 15%. The president may also discuss the war in Ukraine in his address tonight. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he hopes Trump will stay on his country's side. In an interview with CNN, Zelensky says his country is waiting for the U.S. to formally agree to security guarantees as part of a U.S.-backed ceasefire plan with Russia.
We have mostly everything in the paper, but it's not still signed. It's not signed by the United States.
Why?
Is the first. I think that the United States want to sign security guarantees at the very same moment when the 20 points plan will be accepted by all of us.
Today is also the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. There's more upheaval in leadership at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin reports Dr. Ralph Abraham left his job as principal deputy director after 2 months.
Dr. Ralph Abraham came to the CDC in December after serving as Louisiana's Surgeon General. In that role, he had banned vaccine promotion and events by the state health department. During his brief tenure as second-in-command at CDC, he told reporters on a press call that the U.S. potentially losing its measles elimination status would be, quote, not really, unquote, significant. CDC has only had a permanent director for 1 month of the last year. The person who had been acting director at CDC, Jim O'Neill, also just left the agency earlier this month. The director of the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, is taking over as acting director of the CDC while still leading NIH. Selena Simmons-Duffin, NPR News, Washington.
And you're listening to NPR.
888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. That is the number to call. This is our next to last day of our winter membership drive, which we have, what do we call it now, Jim? Our Bombogenesis?
Winter. We call it winter.
Winter. It's not the Bombogenesis drive.
Oh, you can call it that. Sure, that's fine.
The Mega Blizzard, everybody snowed in drive.
Call it that, too.
Call it drive, too. Call it that, too. And for those of you who are without power, or feel terrible for those who are, if you're not without power, you know what you can do if you don't have any power, Jim?
Yeah, eats on emergency crank rate, but we're not giving that away today. This is not helpful.
Well,
it's not
just
helpful.
No, we're giving something great away today. We're giving them a $10 a month online annual subscription to the New York Times. That is all their news content, breaking news, reviews, opinion blogs, and videos, everything except the cooking and the games, but all of the breaking news. The New York Times, I got to say, is one of the stand-up operations in the United States of America, one of these big corporations that is not folded to the whims of Donald Trump. So that's available until 10 o'clock, till 7 o'clock tonight. After that, it goes away for the rest of the drive. 888-897-9424. This could be your one and only opportunity to give to the Bombogenesis wintertime break.
And by the way, if you're worried, Marjorie will list all of the gifts that we're not giving away today for no apparent reason. But, there's a dog in the background,
There's a dog
too.
in the background,
It's Marjorie's
yes.
daughter's dog, but that's irrelevant for right now. The number's 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Fabulous gift. Only 2 more days, today and tomorrow, left in this pledge drive. If you support what we do, particularly now that the feds have defunded the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, make that call, go online, and we thank you.
He is Jim Browdy. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim is in his red room where I'm back here with the dog barking. I've been with this dog since Thursday night. You know why? Because my kid's gone away skiing, and she was supposed to be back on Monday, and she's not back. So anyway, no Boston Public Library this week. She'll stop in a minute, I hope. Otherwise, I'll have to take action into my own hands. We hope to be back there next week. Ask the mayor to be with us March 10th from noon to 1. Hello, Jim.
I'll tell you, that is one healthy dog. Well, it's over, Marjorie, for now, at least, the snow. The nor'easter that blanketed much of our region has passed, leaving us with massive snow drifts, major power outages. Marjorie's disappeared to take care of the dog. As of this morning, more than 250,000 households in Massachusetts have no power, mostly on the Cape and the South Coast. Providence, we spoke to their mayor yesterday, broke an all-time record that was set during the blizzard of 78. Marjorie's hometown, Fall River, 41 inches of snow. The Globe, I believe, for the first time in its history, did not print a paper edition, so because delivery would have been difficult. Working parents are stuck with their kids in the house for a second extra day after last week's vacation. We're unsure if Justin, that was our caller, who was stuck on Route 44, ever made it home. So for part of the show today, just the top, we want to check in with you. How are you faring? How are you holding up on the day after? Have you been without power? Did your boss make you come to work despite the conditions? Or, as in the case of Marjorie, has your daughter gone skiing and left you with a barking dog? The number's 877-301-8970. The blizzard of 26, the day after edition here on BPR. So how was it over there in the wilds of Brookline, Marjorie?
Well, I tell you, I've gone through, those chuck-it things you throw the ball with, the little chuck-it balls.
I do,
I think
yes.
I've gone through 7 of those balls because, of course, you know what happens when there's a blizzard and you throw the chuck-it ball, goes right in like 2 feet of snow, and it's difficult to find it. So we've gone through a lot of chuck-it balls is the disaster here at my house, Jim. That's all I have to say.
How can you not count 41 inches? 41 inches of snow.
No, it's terrible.
In Fall River. It's unbelievable.
I know. I mean, it's I have friends down there that I spoke to, and it is really a mess. And, Fall River, it's a lot. It's a big city, not in terms of people, but in terms of space. So they got a real problem over there. Terrible snow drifts. People can't see around corners. Somebody was stuck in a drift, right?
I do. And she almost didn't make it home. She eventually made it home yesterday. And the governor, after she was up with us yesterday, hey, our colleagues back in Brighton, you should let us know if this is still in effect. Non-emergency driving was banned yesterday afternoon in Martha's Vineyard, Bristol, Plymouth, and I can't remember the third county, which is a pretty big deal, by the way, a pretty big deal. And the roads were absolutely horrible. We want to know what your personal situation is. Are you still shoveling? Did you have an outage issue? By the way, there are also some parts in the South Coast, as it's called. You know what you can't get? Gas. Even if you're able to get out on the roads, a lot of the gas stations are either iced in or shut down or whatever they're doing. So that's a problem as well. The number's 877-301-8970.
Did you mention power outages yet?
Yeah, why don't you mention it again, just to really emphasize
250,000 people in Massachusetts are without power as of 9:15 this morning. The Cape, Provincetown, Truro, Wealthy, Brewster, Eastham, 100% of people there are without power, 100%. Other parts of the Cape are in less bad shape, but they're in pretty bad shape down there too. I guess the issue is how long it's going to take them to get to those. Now the dog's playing with the
No, we know we can tell what the dog is doing. Now, while Marjorie is dealing with the dog, let me say, Connie on YouTube sends us a text that says, Somerville got about a foot, but with drifts. No excuse for Jim and Marjorie not to get to the studio. Well, I have a couple things to say to you, Connie. One, we do not live in Somerville. I live in the adjoining city of Cambridge. In Cambridge, we got 11 feet of snow yesterday, which is one of the reasons why I am not. Now, an anonymous texter says, I got the driveway cleared, then promptly slipped and slid under our car parked on the side.
Oh, no.
I'm fine. It was actually pretty hilarious. Thank goodness no one saw me, though. So there you are.
Well, it is really slippery. I mean, even where they have plowed, there's a veneer of ice underneath the snow, so you got to be really careful. But it looks much better. I got to say, it looks much, much better today, right? We have no excuse tomorrow, Jim. Going to be
unless you're in the South Coast kind of thing, in some of these counties where our colleagues are just telling us, I got the counties wrong. I didn't. Bristol, Plymouth,
Bristol County,
and Dukes counties, they still have the non-emergency driving bans in effect. Now, let me play a little sound,
TF
by the
Green
way.
Airport, they're one of the highest ones too, right?
No, what we said yesterday when we spoke to Mayor Smiley in Providence, that was the all-time record for Providence, beating the blizzard of 78. Now, when we spoke to the Mayor Wu yesterday, she described what she was dealing with actually pretty upbeat, because I think she likes these challenges, as a symphony. I mistakenly described it as a ballet yesterday when the Providence Mayor, Brett Smiley, called in. Here is what Mayor Smiley had to say about the ballet that was really a symphony, as described by Mayor Wu. Here's Mayor Smiley.
If she can consider it a ballet, I'm considering it an all-out war right now. And we're in like the trench warfare phase of what's going to be a long slog here in Providence. So maybe after this is all said and done, she'll take me to lunch and teach me some of her peace of mind tricks.
Maybe she will. And by the way, if you're in Providence, we'd love particularly hear, well, we don't hear from anybody about yesterday in the aftermath. We're particularly interested in hearing from people who have been in communities which really had an incredible headache at 877-301-8970. Hey, friends back in Brighton, I just called the number and it didn't go through. So there's a problem with our phones. If someone can address that. Well, can you tell us who's on the line? Because I can't see it. The call screen is not good. And by the way, it's not a sex room, the red room. It is a red room.
No, sex room.
Excuse me. It is just a red room. And that's where I am because I'm home, back to work. To Mars. Sophie on YouTube says, oh my God, there's a stuck plow in front of my house as we speak. Let's talk to Kate in Newport. Kate, you are first on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. What's up? How's it going?
So I'm in Newport. I'm at down here in college, and it's been crazy. We just got power back, but it was out all day yesterday. Like trees took it all down, and we got over 33 inches of snow. Yeah, so, it's been really crazy.
How about your power? Did you get the power?
So we didn't have power all day yesterday, no hot water, anything, and it just came back on a half hour ago. But so last night, students, I slept in a classroom last night with a bunch of friends.
Why?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Why'd you sleep
in the dorm? It was just too cold.
Now, let me ask you something else.
What college are you at? What college are you at?
I'm at Salve.
Oh my God. Oh my God. For people that don't know, Salve Regina is on the water in Newport. Yeah. It is one of the most gorgeous colleges in the world. You're right by the cliff walk there. I mean, you got it made down there at Salve Regina. I hope you're saying your prayers, though. It's a Catholic school.
Yeah. No, it's a gorgeous school, and I live right across from the Breakers. I'm very lucky to be here.
Now, when I was looking at all the texts and emails yesterday, it seemed to me the younger the listener, and admittedly this is not scientific, the more they love the whole snow experience. You sound like you're not a lover of what happened yesterday. Is that accurate?
I love the snow. This was my first time having a big snowstorm where I wasn't home and my parents kind of weren't taking care of everything, so it was a bit different. I think just not having power that, I didn't like the no power situation, but today, I could see myself looking at it, enjoying it more.
Now, before you go, you're a fabulous caller. We have currently an intern who is a real disappointment. Do you have any interest in becoming an intern on the show, or are you not available? What's the deal?
I mean, no, I'm open to it.
You're open to it. Call me after the show. We'll see what we can do. Thank you much for the call. That caller may have a relationship with our current intern, Ronan, but may not. We're not.
Oh, is that right?
Maybe, maybe not. PJ in Shelburne Falls says, hey, Jim, sounds cheery. Oh, Jim sounds cheerier. Maybe the sex room is working. And I love here Marjorie's dog's squeaky toy.
It's
not professional, but it's fine.
There's a picture of how to build a sex room, lady. She's the one that Jim took instructions from. Her sex room is a little bit lighter hue than yours. I'm not sure, but I think are we on YouTube today? I don't even know.
We are, yes.
There's a picture of her right there.
Exactly. Okay. And she's actually sitting right next to me right now. Sophia in Cambridge, welcome to the show. We're talking about the aftermath of the blizzard of 26. Hey there.
The mayor of Providence was exactly right. It is trench warfare. As a homeowner in Cambridge, right up the road from you, Jim, I have a 40-foot front sidewalk, which I, last night at 9 o'clock, shoveled down to the pavement and put, of course, salt on. It was clear. I mean, clear. No slipping, no nothing. I wake up and all the renters around me have taken all the snow off of their cars and put it onto my sidewalk. So now they have pulled out. So now I have completely filled in their parking spaces with all the snow. They ruined my sidewalk. Now they're going to have to get home, and they're going to have to dig out again, to which I'm sure they're going to throw it back on my sidewalk. And so the cycle will continue.
Sophia, you're my kind of person. I love your attitude. That is really healthy and will make you live longer. Thanks for the call, and good luck digging out. 877-301-8970. By the way, my neighbors, I should say, I'm not a shoveling kind of guy. I think you know that, Marjorie. I know this is a surprise to a lot of people. The neighbors are incredible in this particular place where I live. Everybody helps everybody, except for me, of course, meaning I'm not helping. But no, I'm serious. It's like this communal, beautiful kind of thing.
You should be outside.
89.7 in your office.
What?
What's that?
I don't know. Somebody was talking about 89.7. You should go out with some hot chocolate, Jim, and pass it out to the neighbors that are helping. How would that be?
No, that would require me to go outside, so I won't be doing that. Okay. Jay in Brookline is on the line. Jay, welcome to the show. How are you? Jay.
Well, thanks. Are you on me?
Yes,
yes. Your name is Jay. We are, yeah.
Hi.
Yes, I have. I'm mindful of our neighbors that are having difficulty, and I don't want to undermine that, but I'm having such a wonderful time here.
Why?
I live in a 4-building campus in Brookline.
Yeah.
And the facilities team is amazing.
Really?
Yes. And I also want to know, I was on the phone a few minutes ago when you started talking about the red room. And I know that's your bedroom, but is there a reason why we call it red room?
No, first of all, the reason we call it red room
is because,
excuse me, Marjorie, I'm addressing the issue. Thank you. One, it's called the red room, Jay, because it is a red room. That's number one. Number two, it is not my bedroom. Thank you. We don't need that. It is not bedroom. It is sort of an office. And thirdly, it is not a sex room. Marjorie, actually, it was Maddie, our colleague, who started this nightmare a few months ago, based upon, what was her name, Melanie's sex room? Or
we have her picture right there. I don't know what her name is. It's an S&M room is what she's talking about.
No, it is not. Excuse me. It is not. It is a red room, and that's it, Jay. So don't get too excited. Yeah. Thank you much for your call.
No problem.
It's good for praising your community. Oh, you want to say something else? Sure. What else? Yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to my friend Faye. Bye.
Bye. Faye, nice work, whatever you're doing there. Melanie Rose is the host of How to Build a Sex Room.
Right. Jim watched the show
is not,
and follow the instructions. I don't want to tell you what's on the walls, but we'll keep that to yourself.
Well, you have no idea what's on the walls, so don't tell
I'm looking
them
at a couple of things right there. I'm a little disturbed.
Now, anonymous texter, anonymous texter says, my dog is very confused about the squeaky toy sound coming out of my iPad, which is where they're listening to the show. So that's a problem, Marjorie.
I don't know why she's doing this. She won't get out from underneath the desk that I'm sitting at. But, somebody just texted me. I think it was my friend Jessica said I should have gotten the dog a bone. My daughter should have gotten keep her occupied. But I don't have any bones, so all I've got is...
It's a little late. Well, the good
late.
news is the show's over an hour and a half, so you don't have to worry about it. Jerry in Providence, welcome to BPR on the day after. How you doing?
I'm actually in East Providence, but that's fine. And
well, in East Providence.
I live on one of the roads that runs past one of the elementary schools, and the elementary school is literally 100 yards from our corner. And this road has not yet been touched.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know when they're going to open up the schools or how. We have not seen a plow yet at all. In fact, there is a set of feet that run right down the middle of the street. And I don't know, we got 35 inches or so here.
So what are you doing about that?
All
What are you? Well, don't go away. How are you maneuvering? You're not maneuvering, right? What are you doing?
No, we're not. Well, we can't park on the street because of the parking ban. So we took a look over at where we parked our cars in the parking lot. They haven't touched the parking lot yet either. I'm working from home. Don't know when I'm going to go back to work. Physically,
how come you, Jerry? How come you don't sound angrier than you are? You sound totally resigned to this state of affairs.
Because this is what we were expecting. The previous storm, we went out the night of Sunday. That Sunday night, I spent 3 hours out front, cleaned up everything. It was beautiful. Get up the next morning, the plows had run down the street. They kicked everything right back over our parking spots, all into the sidewalk. What are you going to do? You know, it's trench warfare, as they said, and this is where we are.
Well, you're a saner soul than I would be in that circumstance. Jerry in East Providence, excuse me, thank you for your call.
Now,
good luck.
We just got a text.
That's horrible, but that is really horrible.
Well, they're not going to be in school tomorrow. I think that's probably true.
I mean, he can't even move, essentially.
With that amount of snow, I mean, we got a lot, but we got like 14, 15, 16 inches. With that amount of snow, they may be out for most of the week. That's a lot of snow. And by the way, Will in Tiverton says, according to WPRI, the TV station down there, Tiverton, Rhode Island, which is in the border Fall River, got 43 inches of snow. Jim.
Do you know one of the reasons I'm in a better mood today? Marjorie, I told Marjorie I wasn't going to say when it's on the air. Last night about midnight, I went out and made some snow angels, and I have to say it was really one of the most enjoyable things I've done. And why are you laughing? It was beautiful. It was
the
cold,
image of you
dark.
and a snow angel. It was really good. It was really good.
Let me just say, you are listening to Boston Public Radio on NEPM and on GBH. Lisa, one of my favorite places on earth, Provincetown. I hear you're in a real mess down there. Lisa, I'm sorry. Is that true?
What did you say? I'm in what?
I hear it's a real mess and one of my favorite places on earth, Provincetown. How bad is it down there?
Well, I mean, you can't even get it. First of all, Barnstable County is one of the places where we have the driving ban.
Yeah.
So, but it's understandable. I mean, the thing that's been incredible is watching the reports on Facebook coming through from the different towns, from the police departments and emergency services, saying, this is just so much damage that we don't even know how long it's going to take. Eversource freaked everybody out with a text message, one of those updates you get on your phone, saying that there was going to be monumental damage to the infrastructure.
Oh.
And we just don't know. I mean,
what does that mean exactly?
They're saying 3 to 5 days. What's that?
Oh that's horrible. That is really horrible. So how do you cope with that?
It's a beautiful day, and it's sunny, and people here are in a good mood, and it's like, that's what happens.
But how?
We live at the end of the earth, I mean, it's part of the appeal to live out here, so just kind of deal with it.
But how do you keep warm? Do you have a pebble stove? Jim has one of those.
Pellet,
or do you have
not
pellet,
not
whatever
pebble,
it is.
Pellet, yeah.
Pellet. Or do you have a regular fireplace? I mean, a wood stove?
No, actually, I live in a townhouse, kind of part of a complex, and I've been boiling water on I thank goodness I have a gas stove. So I've been boiling water, and that helps a lot. I did the old school thing of getting out the duct tape and duct taping around the doors to make sure that to keep it insulated, and you put things up against the door. They said that we were going to have concrete snow, and they're not kidding. I went out to try to just shovel out, and it's like ice. It's unbelievable, coating everything.
Lise, don't go away for a second. I mean this totally seriously. The guy Jerry in East Providence called, he's in a mess and his attitude seems to be fine. You're in a mess. Your attitude is even better than his. Why? I mean, how do you, I want to do that. I want to be that. How do you, I'm serious. Why do you act like you act? How do you do that?
Well, I don't know. For me, I don't know. I lived here growing up, and part of the thing you grow up with here is storms. You just kind of go with the flow. I mean, the community comes together. I think that's really what makes a difference. Is just knowing that, like I couldn't shovel my car out because it was literally concrete, and my neighbor came out with a crowbar and started backing away at it. It's that kind of stuff. I mean, people just helping each other out, and now. I think Liz from Liz's Cafe and Paul from Fenizi's restaurant are over at the Council on Aging cooking lunch at the shelter.
Oh my gosh!
It just makes you feel like we're going to make it. We're here together. We may not have power. We all have to shut off our water so the pipes don't freeze. But I mean, the other option is just to despair, and it's too beautiful here for that.
Well, first of all, that's a great call, and two, Liz's Cafe is fabulous. That was great. You're not like that either, Marjorie. I don't want to just.
I think she's she's a very grateful woman. She's a very grateful woman.
Why aren't we like that?
Something that you might try.
Well, how about you? I mean, you're not exactly.
I'm not as bad as you. I mean, I think
that's not much of a recommendation.
I used to be grateful before I met you, but now I've just been dragged down into this hole of
ingratitude or whatever the word is. Is that a word? I don't know if it's a word.
That's great. Somebody just texted from, of course, now I've lost it. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, New Bedford. New Bedford is a mess, too. They said they haven't seen a plow on their street yet. They got 32 inches there. And the mayor, according to this texter, has requested the National Guard to come in and help.
Did you see on CNN last night the ocean off Scituate?
Scituate.
That was incredible.
I don't know. They said they were seeing 70-foot waves. Can you imagine?
They were incredible. They're just incredible. Rachel in Plymouth, welcome. Oh, Plymouth's another mess too, right?
Yeah, Plymouth's on the list.
How about it, Rachel?
Snow.
Hi.
It is a hot mess, Jim, but I do want to say you were a little rough on the intern because he did a good job answering the phone. So
he did. Well, we'll forgive him. By the way, let me give away a secret. That was the intern's sister on the phone. So it was sort of an inside joke kind of thing.
Oh,
it
okay.
Was. It was the intern's sister. How are things in Plymouth, Rachel?
Plymouth is, all I know is it must have been horrible to be a pilgrim because sitting here in the cold, in the dark, with tapered candles flickering, and the light faded from the sky, which was terrifying.
Rachel, that was a great one.
I can't.
Yeah. We're lucky.
We got to go. Good luck to you, and thanks for the call.
Little House on the Prairie. Remember how'd they do it out there in the Little House on the Prairie,
How'd
Jim?
the Pilgrims do it?
Yeah, the Pilgrims do it. That's right. We're a bunch of wusses, complaining wusses at that. Anyway, coming up.
By the way, if you have any great updates on the day after, text us, and we'll read them throughout the show.
Coming up after this quick break, something else to complain about. We're going to be talking about the State of the Union with CNN Chief National Correspondent John King. He's next. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, and Marjorie Egan's dog. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're home today. Again, thanks to our staff colleagues who made it into work. You're remarkable, and the show wouldn't happen without you. We're not at the library again until March 3rd. They're doing some updates to the equipment. Mayor Wu joins us on March 10th at the library, noon to 1. Joined now on Zoom by CNN's chief national correspondent, John King, behind the reporting project all over the map. Hello there, John. How'd you survive the weather there?
We got so lucky here. We got a couple inches. It breezed by. I was in New York, and I came back Sunday night. I was up there with my daughter, lives in New York, and she wanted to take my son to a play for his Hanukkah gift, and we finally scheduled it. We got, I think, the second last train out, New York, as it was starting to mount up. My oldest lives up there with you guys, and I was talking to him last night, texting with him last night, and he said he had gone back out to shovel again. He said they got about 2 feet. And so I'm jealous. I know I'm demented, so I'm jealous. I love snow and I miss snow, and we don't get enough of it here in D.C.
Can you tell your son I live in Inman Square, and if he wants to stop by, he should feel free with a shovel, John, at any time?
Yeah,
I'll send him your way. You put 1 or 2 cold beers in a snowbank for him, and he'll. He's easy, Jim. He's easy.
Okay, fair enough.
I just got a text a couple of minutes ago when we were talking about the snow, and somebody just texted and said their neighbors are all getting together and meeting in the middle of the street for a shot party. They're all going to take turns with shots. Anyway, John King, back to the serious news well, snow is pretty serious, but what are we expecting tonight? A usual very long Trump speech or harangue at the Supreme Court, or what are we looking at?
You never know what to expect with him, although the president himself said yesterday it'll be a long speech. Now, he said it will be a long speech because he has so many accomplishments to talk about. I will say this. This is, I think I've done more than 30 of these, going on 40 of these, if you count, the president's first address. And I can't think of one in which the political challenge for the president of the United States is so dramatic, in the sense that if you look at any of the polling, we have a brand new CNN poll out this week, his approval rating is near a low. His low in the first term was 34. We have him at 36. He has dropped precipitously among women, among suburban voters, among Latinos. His numbers are even down among Republicans. He had a 90% approval rating just a couple months ago among Republicans. That's down to 82%. If the election were today, the Republicans would lose the House, without a doubt. If the election were today, Republicans might actually lose the Senate, even though the map coming into the year you thought was tilted in Republican favor. And there are a whole lot of Republican candidates for governor, for dog catcher, for county commissioner, and everything else out in the country who know that if the president's numbers stay this low, that's when you get a midterm of surprises. Democratic enthusiasm is off the charts. Democrats want to come out and vote against Donald Trump. They want to vote against what they're seeing on ICE. They want, ICE being, immigration enforcement, not ICE being a snowstorm. Democrats are motivated. In every place I've traveled, Democrats, they want this election to be yesterday. And Republicans are and if Republicans are and Democrats are juiced up, that's when you get a bigger than expected midterm.
By the way, since we did pledge over the local news, we should say the listeners may not know that Kelly Ayotte, the governor of New Hampshire, went down and met with Kristi Noem, and that ICE facility will not be built in Merrimack, New Hampshire. So even a Republican loyalist like Kelly Ayotte.
So that tells you, how often do we talk about how Republicans won't stand up to Trump, right?
Yeah.
It is nowhere. I mean, Democrats want to see much, much more of it, and I don't think you're going to see that until after much more of it until after the midterms. But you are starting to see more of it because, Donald Trump says his poll numbers are outstanding and America loves him. A good politician who can win in a competitive state can do math. And they actually talk to people when they get in line, whether it's at Dunkin' Donuts or where they're getting a meeting, or they're talking to people about the snow challenges. Other things come up, and Republicans across the country get it. Their question is, does the president and his White House staff?
One of the things. I'm sorry, Marjorie.
I'm just going to ask you one thing. You said you won't see much Republicans standing up to Trump till after the elections, but I'm wondering, with his polls going down, and the threat that Trump always makes against anybody who defies him, we're going to primary you. Well, do we really still think a MAGA person is going to win in a primary? I know that that's the most devoted Republicans that show up, but is that still a threat worth taking seriously or not?
I think you actually raise a fascinating question in that All of our history in the rearview mirror tells us, of course, that's a threat worth taking seriously because Donald Trump has knocked people out of office through primary challenges. However, Texas votes on March 3rd. The primary season is about to begin, right? And so if we get 3, 4, 5 weeks into the primary season and what you're talking about turns out that you see MAGA candidates losing, Trump-endorsed candidates losing, then that might start to open that gate a little bit sooner. But if you're a Republican who's in one of these Trump states and you've seen it happen to colleagues, or it has helped you in the past or complicated your life in the past, until you see that evidence, if survival is your goal, not principle, you're going to choose what helped people survive in the past until they see evidence to the contrary. But I do think you raise a fascinating question. I was just down in Texas, and I asked a bunch of Trump voters, will Trump endorsement, affect how you vote in the primary? And they all just looked at me like, no. And they all said he's lost a little. In different ways, they said he's lost a little juice with them, because these are Republican Hispanic voters who think the president has just gone way too far with the immigration enforcement. They want a secure border. They want the criminals who are here illegally tossed out of the country. They do not want grandmothers and grandfathers detained. They do not want legal residents who are walking down the street to be stopped and harassed just because they happen to be, they happen to have brown in their skin, or they happen to have a Latino last name. And so you do see, now how does that play out in a primary? If they don't vote in a primary, but more MAGA Trumpy voters come out, in an odd way, that gets you a MAGA candidate. So I don't know the answer to your question, but I think we're going to get some of it as primary season kicks in starting next week.
Marge and I both saw your report from, I think it's the 34th seat congressional district. Here is John speaking with Daisy Alcazar, who says business is down at her traditional Mexican ice cream shop, both due to the state of the economy and fear in the hearts of many in the Latino community. Here she is.
I don't think we are going to survive. We are on fire. We're being burnt down to the floor. Our businesses, our economy, our voice matters. We can make a change. This is a year that the Latino community can show up for their people.
She was, heartbreaking, but fabulous. But could you share some of these numbers on Latino voters who turned out in, I think, near record numbers for Trump just a year and a few months ago, but appear to be feeling that they made a bad deal?
So he got 55% of the Hispanic vote statewide in Texas in 2024 in carrying the state. 55%. He got almost 50% nationally. That was the big dynamic. That's why Trump won the battleground states, all of them: Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona. That's why he won them by that margin. He was going to win Texas anyway, but he won it by an even bigger margin because Latino voters trending his way. Daisy Alcazar is the American dream. Here's a woman and her husband who started a small business. She has dual citizenship, but she's a proud American. Family heritage is in Mexico. They start this small business. They open a couple other shops. COVID hits. So they have to retreat a little bit. But they're stubborn and they're proud and they're going to stay in business. They cut a marketing deal with a local supermarket that sells some of their popsicles in the local supermarket. They just will not quit. Their life savings are on the line. These are the heroes in your community, a place where you take your kids after a soccer game. And I love it. Your dog
Marjorie's daughter's dog.
They're really great popsicles. I don't blame your dog. And so she says foot traffic in her restaurant is way down. In her storefront ice cream store is way down. First, it was inflation. She said it's a splurge, to spend an extra $10 or $15 if your family budget is really tight. And now she says, people, even legal residents in the community, people who've lived there for, their second, third generation, are afraid to go out because they're afraid they're going to be harassed by ICE. And so this is a fascinating question for me. And what she talked about is, she says she doesn't understand Hispanics who voted for Trump. She said, what do they think, they're exempt from being Latino? We've seen how he treats us. But her other point is that voter registration and voter participation in her community is lower than it needs to be. And so she says that's the bigger challenge. Can they motivate people who sit on the sidelines to realize how important this election is? I can tell you this. I'm sorry to ramble a bit. Republicans redrew that district to make it Trump plus 10. Right? This was part of the Republican redistricting plan in Texas that was supposed to take these seats off the map. They were supposed to be sure bets, a +5 for Republicans. That one district is a toss-up. And I would tell you, if the election were tomorrow, the Democrat would hold that seat. The Democrat who has it now would hold that seat if the election were tomorrow. So if Republicans are struggling in districts they redrew to make them Trump plus 10, then what's happening in places that are even, or Trump plus 2, or D plus 2 or 3, right? So that's where you get into this midterm math of, are the Democrats going to pick up 40 seats? Does the map allow that the way the lines are drawn right now? Probably not. But from months ago when people were talking about the Democrats going to get like 8 or 10, I would not, if the election were tomorrow, I would see the Democrats picking up 20 plus seats.
John, one more thing about tonight. Margie and I were talking, obviously, this morning. There are going to be a bunch of survivors as guests of Epstein survivors, as guests of members of Congress. And I wonder what you think he is going to do. I mean, he goes out of his way to say he's totally exonerated, which he is not, obviously. He is not. He hasn't been indicted, nor are there any charges been brought. But this comes against the backdrop of an NPR report this morning saying that among those 3 million documents that were not released are some interviews with a then 13-year-old who said she was sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. And the only part of her 4 interviews, according to NPR, that is in the documents that were released is the one that doesn't mention Donald Trump. What does he do against that backdrop with these courageous women sitting in the gallery tonight?
I would be surprised if he mentions the Epstein's files. It is
at all.
No, at all. Donald Trump does not talk about things that hurt Donald Trump. And this is, I mean, he often says things that hurt Donald Trump about issues that he thinks he's going to help himself with. And we'll see what happens there. We'll see if he goes after the Supreme Court. We'll see if he goes after Democrats. We'll see, if he mischaracterizes things that they've done. Donald Trump, the greatest asset of Donald Trump for the journalism business is keeping fact checkers in their jobs. But I would guess that I would be surprised. I would be surprised politically if Donald Trump talked about the Epstein files in any way. But you make another important point. As I said, when you travel the country, Democrats, for a whole number of reasons, are incredibly energized to participate in this election cycle. Every Republican you meet has something to complain about. And for some of them is they see the president of the United States involved in a cover-up. They see what's happening in the UK, where the king is supporting law enforcement against his brother and against Mr. Mandelson, the former ambassador, a very, very prominent British political figure, tantamount to a United States senator or think of somebody of huge stature, in American politics. That's who Peter Mandelson is, a very well-known name. And so you travel and people say, well, they seem to have figured this out. They seem to have, no patience for this. And it's not like, oh, that was 20 years ago, forget about it. It's like, no, let's have accountability to the degree we can have accountability. And what are they seeing here? A little bit on Wall Street, a little bit in corporate America in the boardroom, but you have people saying, again and again, this is because Team Trump in the 2024 campaign said, we're going to release it all. We're going to release it all. We're going to be fully transparent. Pam Bondi said it was the client list was sitting on her desk. And so this is another example of where what they promised and what they've done are A and Z. And for some of their voters, it is an important issue. And the more and more you hear from these courageous, amazing survivors, how can you not think, okay, like, why, who are we protecting? Let me put it that way. Who are we protecting, and then why?
We're speaking with CNN's John King. You're listening to BPR on NEPM and on GBH.
I'm also thinking, John, this whole Epstein horror is involving a certain class of people, and the class of people are all the people that are in Trump's campaign and the people that he hangs around with. It's Trump himself, all these billionaires and millionaires and people from overseas. It's a great kind of marketing tool for the Democrats. The Epstein class versus Joe and Jane. The Epstein class, the billionaires, the zillionaires traveling on their planes, they can't, they don't want to give you health care. Mm-hmm. The Epstein class doesn't want to help you with your prices and your homes and all this. It seems like even though the Democrats haven't exactly come up with a great plan for fixing the economy, that seems like a very appealing message to me.
It's why you're such a talented writer, Marjorie. You just wrote a couple of great ads there for the Democrats. The question is, do they figure that out themselves? I do, and again, I think one of the things that gets at the if you look at Donald Trump numbers among independents, just cratering. Christian conservatives are accounted for a lot of that Latino vote that has disappeared. People that Donald Trump promised that he was on their side, right? He said that was the whole thing. That yeah, sure he was rich, sure he was in a Pentagon, but he was. I am your voice, right? I am your voice. I alone will go in there and fight for you. And then they see him with what you call the Epstein class, and I think that's, it's a great political way to frame it. And they say, well, wait a minute, didn't you tell us you were going to be the guy who drained the swamp? Who showed no quarters, right? I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Republican. I'm Donald Trump. I'm going to go from Manhattan into Washington and blow it up and expose it all. And instead, they have a lot of questions about the president. I mean, look at the great reporting about how the president and his family have profited from being back in the White House. Look at this Epstein case where they promised full transparency and they have not. So I think people. It is certainly a fair argument, as you make, for Democrats to try to make that, that he has not delivered on what he has told you. And in fact, on several issues, you could make the case that he has done quite the opposite.
John, before you go, we only have 30 seconds left. There's still a shutdown. We mentioned planes a minute ago. TSA agents are still not being paid. The Democrats are standing strong, even moderate Democrats, on these demands around ICE. In 30 seconds, are they getting anywhere, or is this a total logjam?
Total logjam. There's a lot of conversations back and forth, but the Democrats will not budge because, as I said, every day they wake up and they think they're in a stronger position, not just on the issues related to ICE enforcement, but on issues related to Trump's strength/weakness with the American people. Democrats are not budging. The question is, do Republicans at some point say we got to give?
John, it's good to see you.
We've been speaking with CNN's John King. Thank you very much, John King.
Well,
as always, be watching tonight. John is Chief National Correspondent, reporter behind the All Over the Map series. Coming up after this quick break, our food policy analyst, Corby Kummer. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim Browder, Marjorie Egan will be back in a second. She is doing something with her daughter's dog. We are not at the library again until till March 3rd. They're doing upgrades of some equipment there. Again, back next week. And on the 10th of March from noon to 1, the mayor will join us. We're still waiting to hear from the governor and the attorney general. Apparently they will miss February. We hope we will see them both in March. We're joined now live on Zoom by Corby Kummer. Corby's the executive director of the Food and Society Policy Program at the Aspen Institute, senior editor at The Atlantic, senior lecturer at the Tubbs Friedman School of Nutrition, Science, and Policy, and the person huffing and puffing in the background because she just rushed back to greet Corby is the great Marjorie Egan. Hi, Marjorie. Hi, Corby.
Yeah, my dog has been disrupting the broadcast. I just put her up in the bedroom with some peanut butter. She's very happy. So, Corby Kummer, devastating story about the effects of these tariffs on the wine industry. Tell us about it.
I'm so glad that Eric Asimov of the Times decided to interview American wine producers and say these tariffs have created hostility in other countries toward American products. It's not just that one family-owned company he interviews toward the end of it has paid $1 million in tariff costs, even if Trump says, oh, it's foreign companies that are paying it. It's really harming the small, family-owned American business that can't afford $1 million in tariff fees. But the main point of the overall article is that foreign buyers are so annoyed by the unpredictability and whimsicality of the Trump tariffs on their own products that they're saying the heck with U.S. products. Canada, which I didn't realize, just stopped importing all American wines from one day to the next because of the incredible hostility of the Trump administration. And that was a very important market for U.S. wine producers. So it's really taking a toll on U.S. wine.
And
well, it's not just for the reason you say, even though that's a major thing. And I have to say, I admire any people who stand up for principle in this kind of thing. And obviously the Canadians are.
And the Nordic countries, too.
Yeah, but the other thing is that the naivete, we discussed this with you or somebody months and months ago when the tariffs came into being, the notion that it's going to buttress production in the United States. There's certain things like wine that come from certain parts of the world that can't be replicated here. I mean, so the whole notion was ridiculous. But most importantly, Corby, what this gave Marjorie and me an opportunity to do was read a story written by somebody you know very well in Vanity Fair 9 years ago about Trump wines, in which the expert who accompanied this writer described one of Trump's wines as Welch's grape juice with alcohol. Do you remember writing that piece, Corby Kummer?
I do. How could I forget? Charlottesville, the Trump restaurant.
Well,
does it still exist? Does Trump wine still exist?
Oh, gosh, it's going great guns. Absolutely, yeah.
It is?
Charlottesville, it's overrun with people who come every day. Yeah, I've seen pieces about it during the current administration. Yes, absolutely.
You didn't describe it as very tasty, though. Do you remember what you called it?
I can't remember what I called it. I mean, Welch's grape juice with alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. So you didn't think much of it.
But, you know, it was built on the back of a rich woman who exhausted all of her resources hiring top talent from Europe and American vineyards. And so it was quite respectably made because Trump managed to wait and pay pennies on the dollar for what they'd originally offered this for. It was a woman whose divorce settlement or lawsuits were ruining her. And so he was able to ruin a rich woman who had been considered him a friend. What an unusual story. So in any case, you know, it wasn't completely terrible because it had been built with a lot of money that made a perfectly decent, just not very good wine.
Well, it's not as bad as you say. He could have ruined that rich woman worse. He could have married her. That would have really been the end for her. So, Corby Kummer, there is a story in the Globe magazine about ultra-processed food, which we've discussed with you maybe about 100 times. And the theme, Marjorie, feel free to correct me if you disagree with this. The theme of the piece is, it is very hard to describe what, in the ultra-processed food world, what is really bad and what is just a little bit bad. And you've said that to us repeatedly. It's sort of hard to define. Why doesn't someone like you, and I mean this sincerely, who has access to the best talent in the food world, devise a rating scale so that on that package that we have, that almost all of us look, the nutritional information stuff, that there's a rating, let's say, from 1 to 10 in terms of how much you should worry about the contents of what you're about to feed yourself or your kid. Is that doable or no?
It's done. It's been done. Okay, so let me reel off. So Hannaford Brothers in Maine was the pioneer in its so-called guiding stars system, 1 to 5 stars. And isn't it Ahold, which owns Stop and Shop? So some of the other grocery chains within the Hannaford Brothers ecosystem also adopted guiding stars. So it was nutrition people. All of these systems run into the buzzsaw of manufacturers are fine having something on a shelf or a package that says, this is really good, but they're not so fine if it says, this is not so good. So it's very hard, but it's quite useful guiding stars.
How do you access it? I never even heard of it. How do you access it?
Well, Guiding Stars is in an actual supermarket, and it's on the shelf, on the label, underneath the product. And that exists still in Maine. But there's something called How Good, which has hundreds of supermarkets around the country which take its system. And so again, that's on the shelf underneath. I don't know of local Boston supermarkets that have adopted How Good, but I'll find out. One of my food leaders fellows in my Food and Society at the Aspen Institute, she's just quit heading nutrition for the Wegmans of Texas. It's called HEB, and it's completely loved. It's a Texas state obsession. Everybody trusts them and loves them. And she's quit in order to make a rating system for food products and food companies. It's a question of whether the manufacturers will buy into it, and more important, whether the supermarket will buy into it. But some of these really exist, and they all have different criteria. Is it just nutrition and what's on the label and what's good for you? Is it the way they treat their labor? Is it the amount of foreign goods versus local businesses that they patronize? They all have different criteria and secret sauce, but they're all supposed to help you make better choices as far as ethics and, most important, nutrition for your family.
I just want to be clear that one of the criteria, or in at least some of these rating systems, are the how a dangerousness scale about ultra processed foods, or no?
Sure, but ultra-processed food is this enormous bludgeon of a tool that, as this piece in the Globe of a colleague, Jerry Mand, taking the reporter through the aisles. She's got, I think, a 6 and a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And he's saying ultra-processed means a lot of things, and some of these products are really okay for your family because they're going to save you time, and they're okay in terms of nutrition. Ultra-processed is right now a very blunt, imprecise instrument. And one thing to say in defense of the Maha people who have been villainizing and demonizing ultra-processed foods without any clear agreed-upon definition is they do want to release money to help come up with an actual definition of what ultra-processed means.
Well, there were two things in here that were pretty definitive, which I thought, and it's by a woman named Tal Kopan, Kopan, in the Globe magazine, and says whole grain. A lot of us look for whole grains. She said it's the regulations are they're so loose, but you look and see if the dietary fiber is 10% or more of the total carbohydrates, then it's a better choice. So that's a pretty definitive number that you can look at. And also in terms of grams of dietary fiber, grams of dietary fiber should be 10% or more of the total carbohydrates. So that's a little pain in the neck, but you could figure it out once and then just keep buying those products.
But that's just one. That's just one thing, though. That's a fiber thing. The thing that Go ahead, I'm Corby.
But that matters, though. I think fiber and whole grain matters.
Yeah, it does.
Fiber is huge. I love that you extracted that easy-to-use rule, but which is kind of unlike you, Marjorie, if I could be so bold, that you would bother in a supermarket to turn the box around and think.
Excuse me, she hasn't done it. She just said she liked it. She has never done it.
You know something?
Me.
No, this is not true. A long time ago, she's long dead, Adele Davis, she used to talk about all the chemicals in the food. Yeah. And I remember when I was in my crunchy gray, when we made our own food at the ashram in California, we were in alfalfa sprouts. We were all into this stuff. And I remember reading it then and looking at the labels of food, and you can't always tell. But usually when there's 90 ingredients you can't pronounce and can't name on the back of a product. I mean, those kind of things are at least a rough guide. This is an ultra-processed food.
Yeah, but that's an inexact science. We can leave this for now. I'm looking for somebody who does a scale exclusively on the ultra-processed issue, and it appears I'm still waiting.
I think you can start killing your own meat in the backyard, Jim, and just taking it from there.
What I prefer to do is take you to the supermarket with a calculator, and you can decide if the fiber is of only 1/10 whatever. We're talking to Corby Kummer. Corby, there was a wonderful piece. Was this in the Globe? About restaurants with comfortable seats. And the reason I mentioned, we're not going to go down the list, even though I'll tell you what my most physically comfortable restaurant is. I think that really, really matters. We've never discussed that with you. We discussed sound, noise, quality of food, service, prices. How comfortable you are in your seat actually matters, doesn't it?
Hugely. I love this article, which is evaluating restaurant seats. What I care most about is the height of the actual seat. For example, Sofa, one of the best places in all of Boston, has these low, like little drums that you sit on, which a la very noisy restaurants are a sure way to drive me out fast. So the idea of a comfortable, high, solid seat that supports your back, I think every restaurant critic should be evaluating this as a criterion.
By the way, even though I've never sat on a seated sofa. I was there the other day in Alston. The food is extraordinary. You can render a verdict on the seats. Let me just say this, though. What matters most to me, and I want to know if this matters to the two of you, I like a good booth. An Eastern Standard, Garrett Hawker, it's a new iteration of his old place, Eastern Standard. You get it in a booth, and it's plush, and you sink down, but not sink down too far. It's soft. Doesn't that put you in the right mood to enjoy fabulous food, Marjorie and Corby Kummer? Yes, right?
Too far.
Yes,
exactly.
Of course. A little sink.
If you're short, your chin is even with the table.
No. This has a little tiny give. It still keeps you propped up perfectly,
Jim,
and you're surrounded by comfort.
Jim is 6'5". He's not going to sink down too much. But if you're a little person, it's not so good.
We're speaking with Corby Kummer, and you're listening to BPR and NEPM and GBH. I told you, it's the perfect give. It's the perfect like give. A half-inch sink, and it is a wonderful piece. And by the way, in the piece, I can't remember who wrote it. Do either of you? Whoever wrote the piece lists... Cara Baskin, specific restaurants.
She's great.
And rates the seating of those restaurants, so I would check it out if I were you.
By the way, Cara Baskin also wrote a piece about the living hell of these snow days when you have little children and you're all stranded in the house for day after day after day after day. Okay, should we move to sardines, Jim?
We should. Sardines are in big time. Is that correct?
A craze. Sardines are supposed to help your skin, help your nutrition, then plus they're cheap.
And Marjorie's you've never had a sardine in your life,
No, I think they're
correct?
disgusting. They smell horrible. I don't know how anybody can get near them, but apparently everybody else thinks they're swell.
How about it, Corby?
You are so wrong about sardines. They are the best tinned fish. They taste wonderful. They have all kinds of calcium, which is very important for women. Very important for women, as you might have heard, Marjorie.
I've heard,
one of the best sources of dietary calcium is eating a lovely, crunchy, delicious, not too fishy sardine. They're not that much fishier tasting than tuna out of a can. They smell more than tuna does. I'm going to give you that, Marjorie. Absolutely. Which makes them sort of not safe for work because people don't like smelling it in the next cubicle. But they don't taste very fishy. They're just so good, and I have them for lunch every day, as I've claimed on this show. And I told Mr. Bologna just this morning. I know Jim and Marjorie didn't believe me when I said that, but just yesterday I had sardines for lunch. They're so good. Marjorie, you have to change your mind.
Mr. Bologna, by the way, would be Jamie's formal name. Now, let me embarrassed to ask, because no, you won't. Let me just say, I'm embarrassed to ask this because I know I'm going to be ridiculed by just even asking the question. Is there such a thing as a fresh sardine, not in a can, that you eat?
Or fantastic.
I've never had one.
Gleaming silver fish that look like they came off of some Mexican Christmas tree. They're absolutely gorgeous silver fish. They grill beautifully. They're about 6 inches long. I used to go to East Boston to Courthouse Fish just to get fresh sardines.
Okay.
And you can grill them, and they're fantastic.
I want to mention some of the best sardines around are apparently available at Portugalia Marketplace in my hometown of Fall River, which just got 41 inches of snow. $5 to more than $60 a tin. They're a great place if you're in the neighborhood. You want to get sardines. Okay, Corby, I'll try. I don't know.
Give it a try.
Give it
you
a
won't
try.
Be sorry.
Okay, Corby, thank you very much.
Remember, Marjorie, when that woman that hosted the Portuguese food show from Fall River beat me for best host and won the New England Emmy? Do you remember that experience I suffered through?
It was a tragedy for Jim.
It was a tragedy.
It took him weeks to recover.
Okay, we got to go.
Corby, thank you. Executive Director
Thanks,
of the Food
Corby.
Society Program at the Aspen Institute. Up next, we're going to talk to Dr. Katherine Gergen Barnett, Public Radio.
Join us for the GBH News Shorts Fest. We'll watch 3 local documentaries and hear from the filmmakers and journalists who made them happen. Get your tickets at gbh.org/events.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Boston Philharmonic Youth Orchestra. Benjamin Zander conducts Ives Putnam's Camp from 3 places in New England, Debussy's La Mer, and Mahler's First Symphony at Symphony Hall, Friday, February 27th at 8. Tickets and more at bostonphil.org. And Rogers Fish Company, founded by Roger Berkowitz, offering an array of New England seafood and entrees shippable anywhere in the U.S. More at rogersfishcompany.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbh.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio, hour number 2, 89.7 GBH. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. Jim is locked in his red sex room as Catherine, Dr. Catherine.
Wow.
Sorry, I know. We're all shocked. Anyway, we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're not at the Boston Public Library this week, unfortunately, because we're doing some equipment upgrades there, but we hope to be back next week. Ask the Mayor. Michelle will be with us March 10th, noon to 1, back at the library. Hello again, Jim.
Hey, and you, by the way, the good news is you should hear from my lawyers by about 2:30 this afternoon. We're joined now on Zoom by Dr. Katherine Gergen Barnett, Vice Chair of Primary Care Innovation and Transformation, Boston Medical Center, Associate Professor at BU Medical School, and an Aspen Institute Health Innovators Fellow. Doctor, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Wonderful to see you. I will just say that I really appreciate seeing the elliptical behind you, Jim.
It is an elliptical, actually, which I use every day.
Yes, given that it is actually American Heart Month. So it's great news.
Yeah, you've got so much great information here about heart health, which I think a lot of us think are just men, and it's obviously a big killer of women, too. Tell us.
Yeah. So, I think we have the opportunity on this show to talk a lot about breaking news and what's happening in the world, but it did feel important given the fact that February is American Heart Month and cardiovascular disease is still the number 1 killer in the U.S. So, when we think about heart disease, we think, we've got that taken care of. But actually, it's more people die of heart attacks and stroke than combined cancer and any accidents.
Wow.
Which is kind of shocking. And the American Heart Association just came out with a study last month to look at the latest statistics that they have. And 3 in 10 fatalities are caused by cardiovascular disease in the U.S., which is about 916,000 people per year. So, and to your point, Marjorie, I think we think about men, that doesn't matter. But men and women both have high risk. Women, especially postmenopausal women. But when women are pregnant, and we've talked about this before, they have a risk of developing high blood pressure, diabetes, both of which add to cardiovascular disease. And about 50% of people in the U.S. are living with high blood pressure. And half of those people don't even know that they have high blood pressure. So, just wanted to spend some time talking about the importance of it and how you can detect it and prevent it.
One of the things I don't understand about, among the primary causes, feel free to say I'm wrong, of heart issues are smoking and obviously this obesity epidemic in this country. But I read the other day that we're down to something like only 10 to 11% of the population is smoking, which is still too much, but it's far down from what it was. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 10+% of people are on GLP-1 drugs. So should we assume, if I'm right about smoking and obesity, particularly obesity now being a problem, should we assume that as these GLP-1 drugs become in more common usage, assuming the insurance companies don't destroy the whole thing, that we're going to see fewer heart problems than we currently see?
Yeah, so just to put a finer point on your question first, to start with smoking. So 1970s, certainly, smoking cigarettes was a huge cause of cardiovascular disease. We know that actually since David Kessler and others kind of put bans on smoking and policy around it, that's actually much less of a contributor in terms of cigarettes. So that's not to say that we don't have a problem with e-cigarettes. So that is a huge contributing factor. The obesity piece, absolutely, GLP-1s are helping a segment of people with obesity. We've talked a lot about GLP-1s, the difficulty with access. The high blood pressure, which, I think I mentioned earlier, which largely comes from, things like high sodium foods, ultra processed foods that are packed with all kinds of, ingredients that we don't understand how they impact the vascular system, but we do know they cause disease. And other elements like that, we have to kind of dig further into those, because actually our rates since 2021 have gone up. And part of cardiovascular disease, but part of that is also access to care and what happened during the pandemic. And I know we've talked about primary care and the difficulty of accessing primary care, which has gotten worse over the last few years, and that's a really key factor. So basic things like eating high potassium foods, right? Not just bananas, but foods that are like citrus foods and leafy greens that actually can drive down your sodium. Which helps for carry. Isn't that amazing? So sodium and potassium, I love this kind of thing. So they work on receptors, right? And like, as you drive your potassium in, you drive your sodium out, and that's what relaxes the wall. So people may have heard, these kind of dietary approaches to stop hypertension. There's science behind all of those things in terms of the foods that we're recommending people eat. But the other thing is, working with a primary care physician, working with others, so you get your blood pressure checked. Again, this is a silent killer. A lot of people don't even know that they have hypertension. Know your risk factors. So Black men are more at risk, people with a family history. All those things are important. And then working with a specialist. So I'm not putting in for a plug for BMC per se, but I'm really happy to have now a whole nother set of specialists at BMC Brighton that we can work with, as part of our primary care team, who are amazing heart doctors.
Doctor, when you said many people don't know they have high blood pressure, I assume that's linked to not having a primary care physician, because that's one of the first things they do, right, is take your blood pressure.
100%. They take your blood pressure and but not everybody goes regularly to a primary care physician, and you can develop high blood pressure in between visits and not know it. So there are symptoms, sometimes people think, I'm just having a headache, but headaches can often be a sign of high blood pressure. Not to make people paranoid, right? Every headache is not high blood pressure. And then there are signs that women in particular may be having a heart attack that is not just about chest pain radiating down the left arm. They can be really tired or they can be nauseous. So a lot of women don't even get diagnosed with heart attacks because they don't know they're having one.
So is it a good idea to go to CVS and get one of those blood pressure takers at home?
Thank you,
is,
Margaret.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And some healthcare systems like we do for women who are high risk in pregnancy, we can actually write a prescription for a blood pressure cuff for people. So I would, especially if you have a family history of high blood pressure, or if you have high cholesterol, or you're obese, And there are, again, there are other risk factors. Please consider getting a blood pressure cuff. And we're looking for less than 120 over 80.
We're talking to Dr. Katherine Gergen Barnett. We got to take a break, Marjorie.
We'll be right back. We are going to continue talking with Dr. Katherine Gergen Barnett after this quick break. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Quick break. We'll be right back.
Boston Public Radio today was made possible by our listener contributors. That's how GBH works. The money you give keeps Boston Public Radio on the radio. Please sign up as a sustaining member during this membership drive. Listening to Boston Public Radio doesn't cost you anything, but pulling this show together every day, that takes work. So why not lend a hand with a contribution in any amount at 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
That's a great point. We are free, unlike the streaming services that you watch, unlike cable that you get, we are free. If you procrastinated about giving and you like what you hear at the station, here's a great opportunity to give because we have this match gift now, where basically you're doubling your money. If you give $10, it becomes $20. If you give $100, it becomes $200. If you're really loaded and you want to give us like $1,000, it becomes $2,000. This is a sustaining gift. Is a gift that really helps our budget people now because the federal government has taken away our government funding, so we're entirely dependent on the generosity of private organizations and listeners who listen to this station. So if you've been waiting, this is the next to last day of our winter Bombogenesis pledge drive. The number is 888-897-9424 at gbhnews.org.
Let me talk about the match for a second. It doesn't matter what you do. If you do the $10 a month, the gift today is this $10 a month for an annual online subscription of the Times. You get the breaking news, reviews, opinion blogs, videos. You don't get games and cooking, but you got everything else. If you do that, that becomes $20 a month. If you give $100 one time, you don't do this, you get $200. Whatever you give in whatever form gets doubled. Is it just for this hour? Yeah, was it just for this hour? I think it ends at 1 o'clock, doesn't it? Yes, it ends at 1 o'clock. Bless you, Marjorie. So you call 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And let me repeat myself and Marjorie. Not only is the New York Times to be praised because they haven't gone in the tank like Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post and a bunch of other newspapers, but it's also one of the great gifts. How many people, particularly young people, do you say, what can I get that person that I don't already have? Get them a 1-year subscription online to the New York Times. And what better thing can you do for somebody than help educate them and entertain them? And you do that, and get it for yourself, too, if you don't have it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And by the way, we love a match. Do we love a match?
We love a match. This is the best time to give. And I'm not plugging it because my daughter doesn't work there anymore. She used to, but she doesn't work there anymore. But they have an unbelievably great app where you can get great videos, and they've got great wellness stuff. All this wonderful wellness stuff, which is just fascinating. You can get it on your phone or wherever you get it. It's really great. So this is the next to last day. If you are interested, as I said, if we didn't do this a few times a year, you would have to listen to commercials. And boy, are commercials really horrible, especially in radio when they can last for 5 or 6 or even 7 minutes of an entire show. We don't have any commercials. We just are looking for money a few times a year, and we're particularly looking for it now because, as I said, our government funding is over. So again, we have the great gift today, $10 a month for the New York Times subscription, and it will be doubled during this hour, and we'd like to get most of the money during our show, which is 11 to 1, so that means you have 42 minutes in which to contribute. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. We have the New York Times subscription, and we also have the match, the double your money opportunity right now, but we'll take anything. If $5, we'll take that too. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH. Jim Browdy and Marjorie, again, I forgot who we were for a second. We're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're not the library. We're not anywhere, actually. We're home. Well, I guess that is someplace. But we are back at the library on March 3rd doing upgrades to the systems. And we are now continuing our conversation, at least I'll get this right, with Dr. Katherine Gergen Barnett.
So, Doctor, a lot of people take anxiety medication. You're the expert. I'm not. But it does seem for many people it's a real lifesaver. But Maha, the RFK Jr., who I think is kind of a lunatic, he and his group are deriding these medications. So what's the story?
So there has been, some efforts to say that some of these medications are addictive and they're not helpful. I will say, so anxiety, as we all know, is unfortunately quite prevalent in the U.S. population, and about 14% of people in the U.S. are actually on some sort of anxiety medications. I will say it is a cornerstone of how we treat anxiety, but it absolutely goes along with talk therapy and wellness and exercise and, connecting to community and all of those things. There is, people who have been surveyed, large meta-analysis as well, show that people who are on these medicines, usually an SSRI is what they're called, have about 50% reduction in symptoms. And very few people, like about 1 in 12, come off them from side effects. So I will tell you, as somebody who has studied these medications extensively and knows the pharmacy and the pharmacological effects of them, they are not addictive. You need to be talking to somebody. Your primary care physician is a perfect person if you're planning on coming off of them, so people can get, bad headaches and nausea, et cetera. They come off suddenly. But it is, absolutely an important part of people's lives. And I will say there are medications like Xanax or other benzodiazepines, which are more addictive, which are short-term, but those are not the cornerstone of the medications that we use for anxiety.
Doctor, when Marjorie and I were talking about this morning, Marjorie said to me, who listens to this quack, meaning Kennedy? And my response is tons of people, as evidenced by the fact the wide swath of America believed in vaccines until he started bad-mouthing them, saying they're not safe and effective, and vaccine usage went down. So as totally incredible as he is, not credible as he is, he's got an impact on a significant percentage of the population, no?
Yeah, 100%. And, and I think we talked about it last time I was on, talking about the food pyramid and what's come out under HHS. And, there's a piece that I'm actually writing a piece right now for the Globe around this, around ultra-processed foods and what we do know about the impact. So, there is credibility around looking at what goes into our body and the impact on mental health. So I want to make sure we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There is really good, important things that we need to highlight. And yet we have to understand that we cannot just rely on whole person foods or increased steak and butter to, treat anxiety. We have to understand that what integrative medicine means, which I think he and his team stand for, is that you take the best of medication and you take the best of wellness. And that's what true integrative medicine is. And so, again, I just hope people will stand their ground. They'll talk to, trusted healthcare professionals and take this all with a grain of salt and recognize that, there's lots of different pathways to getting to wellness, and SSRIs is one of them.
But not with too many grains of salt. By the way, before we continue.
Thank you. And more
you're welcome. Just an update. Governor Healy is lifting the travel ban for Bristol, Plymouth, Barnstable, and Dukes County at noon today. And she's urging residents of those counties still to use caution, stay home if possible till cleanup is over. But the formal ban for non-emergencies to be driving is over 23 minutes ago. We're talking to Dr. Katherine Gergen Barnett.
Just as a quick aside about RFK Jr., you saw him testifying in Congress. Looks like his head was about to explode right off his body. He's so angry, and it's just odd that he's amassed this following, and it makes you think, what's up with my fellow Americans, that that this is the guy that they would believe, or for that matter, people that, well, I don't want to get into politics, but it's just odd that people would believe him because he looks deranged.
No, you know why you make a wonderful point? Because the American people would never, I don't know, elect a multiple felon, a sexual abuser.
Okay.
I mean, the answer is you got what you voted for, and he is an extension of Trump. This web of misinformation and lies, and it's really, is there, one of the things, is there an organized effort, Doctor, by the AMA and, all of the health professionals organizations to counter this in a more high-profile, useful way? That we hear individual responses, whether it's you on our show or an individual doctor or public health type, but there doesn't seem to be a comprehensive, reliable source to counter this crap. Is there? And I'm missing it?
I think, we've spoken about vaccines and some of the places that people can go for better vaccine information. And, in Massachusetts, we're following the experts. So American Academy of Pediatrics, American Association of Family Practice, et cetera. So, and they are banding together and putting together letters and being really clear about what the medical evidence is. But, I think part of what is happening is it is happening at such a fast rate that it's hard to know what to react to. So every time we talk, it's something in terms of what's the medical, information. How do we disaggregate that from where the political landscape is? How do we recognize that good healthcare is a bipartisan issue that everybody can get behind? Everybody wants access to healthy foods. Everybody wants access to places where they can exercise. And everybody wants people they love to feel less anxious. The question is how do you do those things, and how do you stop blaming the individual, and how do you keep the scientific evidence at the forefront?
Doctor, as always, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for your time.
Wonderful seeing you. Stay safe. Okay, be well.
Too.
Bye.
We have been speaking with Dr. Katherine Gergen Barnett, Vice Chair of Primary Care, Innovation, and Transformation at Boston Medical Center, Associate Professor at Boston University Medical School, and an Aspen Institute Health Innovators Fellow. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to be talking with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She joins us next. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Live, local, 5 days a week. Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
Okay, this is our winter pledge drive. We do this a few times a year to raise money because we are no longer funded at all. It was only a small portion before, but a significant portion of government funding is gone. We're calling this our Deep Blizzard, our Brahmogenesis pledge drive. It ends tomorrow. Right now, though, between 12 and 1, we have a great deal. If you've been hesitating, we're going to double your money. We have a very generous group of Beacon Circle patrons donated more money to double this match. So if you give $10, it turns into $20. You give $150, it turns into $300. It's our match contribution, and it's great to double your money. It's kind of like a coupon. You double your money at the market or something like that. The number is 888-897-9424, or you can give online at wgbhnews.org.
By the way, nobody except Marjorie is calling it the Bombogenesis pledge drive. I want to be clear about that. It's very kind.
Isn't that a great word?
Very creative that you are. We learned from Dave Epstein what it is. We don't remember. Yeah. Again, the number is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. There's a fabulous gift. I would argue one of the best. And by the way, there are only 2 days left in the drive, today and tomorrow. If you're waiting because you think the mug is showing up tomorrow, it's not showing up this pledge drive. Hopefully it'll be back the next pledge drive or something like that. Today is a fabulous gift. Unlike the Washington Post, which has sold its soul to, at least editorially, to Donald Trump. The New York Times has stayed proud and independent, and you get a 1 year's online subscription for $10 a month. All the news, the video, the blogs, not the cooking and games, but everything else. It's a fabulous thing for you, and if you have it, or even if you don't have it, even if you do have it, it's a fabulous thing to give as a gift to anybody, particularly a young person or people in your life. You do that by calling 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And a doubly good reason to do it in the next 31 minutes is because we have that match that Marjorie mentioned. Dollar for dollar, everything you give, whether it's for the New York Times, a one-time contribution of $5 or $5,000, it's doubled by some very generous people who support the work our colleagues and staff do here. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And as I said before, when we were talking with Dr. Katherine, Gergen, and Barnett, they have this wonderful wellness blog on the Times. Where if you get the
it is
subscription,
great, actually.
Yeah, it's got lifestyle, it's got wellness, it's got sports, they have the great athletic at the Times too. That's a great sports section.
I bought it, yeah.
In addition to news and breaking news and all that, I'm a big fan of the New York Times, obviously. So that is our $10 a month gift. If you already have one, you can give it to somebody else. As Jim said earlier, $10 a month, and then we know how much for the people that do the budgets here, how much they have coming in for the next year. But the beauty of it is, if you give $10 a month, you get the double the money deal. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browder is streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Our next guest attended last year's variation on the State of the Union address, but she walked out. This year, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is boycotting the speech entirely. She joins us to tell us what she will be doing instead. Congresswoman, good to have you. Thanks so much for your time.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the interest.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Congresswoman. So why aren't you going?
Well, I'm not going because I will not legitimize or normalize the hostilities of the occupant of the Oval Office. Moreover, the sanctity of the chamber has been completely desecrated. Every time I enter there for a joint address or for the State of the Union, I'm haunted by images of January 6th. He returns to the scene of a crime that he incited and denies he did. But moreover, a through line in my career for as long as I've been in public service has been to prevent childhood trauma, to mitigate its harms, and to help traumatized children get on a pathway to healing. I believe the state of our union is traumatizing our children, all the children of this nation. But tonight, though I'm boycotting the address, my honorary State of the Union guest will be several children who have been directly impacted by the lawless, rogue, and racist actions of ICE. This administration has a legacy in its short tenure of child abuse and neglect. And that is why I'm boycotting, many reasons why I'm boycotting the State of the Union.
Could you tell us about a couple of these kids you're going to have as honorary guests, Congresswoman, please?
Yes, and I wish you all could be here because I've worked with my team to develop a very haunting art installation in my lobby that tells the story in a very powerful way visually. But I have Juan Nicholas as my honorary State of the Union guest, a 2-month-old baby who was dangerously ill and denied medical care while he was imprisoned at what they're calling the baby jail at Dilley before he and his parents and his 16-month-old sister were forcefully and suddenly deported. Once Juan Nicholas was at the hospital, he was diagnosed with bronchitis. And, the Dilley staff, the entire time he was there, denied him access to his medications. Again, we're talking about a 2-month-old. He was violently ill, throwing up formula. My other honorary State of the Union guest will be Daphne, a 2-year-old toddler who's from the Massachusetts 7th, whose father was picked up as what they characterize as collateral during an ICE operation in Chelsea. And collateral really just means he was a victim of racial profiling. And he was held in ICE detention. Daphne's father was held in ICE detention for over a month and later released on a bond. But that being said, while he was in that ICE detention facility, it was devastating to the family. And even though the family's been reunited, their future is unclear, and there's still devastating residual impacts of the time while he was away from his family. My third honorary State of the Union guest will be a 9-year-old. So again, so far I have a 2-month-old, a 2-year-old, and now a 9-year-old in Sault, who has been detained at Dilley for over 60 days. And you may have seen some of her letters, which have been shared.
Yes.
One of the letters, I'll quote, she says, "I was so happy with my friends in the school, but now I need to leave. I miss my family and my country, so now I want to Venezuela. But my mom does not want me to leave because she wants a better future for me. Seeing how people like me, immigrants, are being treated has changed my perspective." So again, a 2-year-old, a 2-month-old, a 9-year-old, and I also just share with you, as I visit our schools, I've had young children, as young as 6 years old, who have approached me afraid for their best friends at school, their classmates. Some of their parents have shared with me that they've begged their parents if they can move in with them and find a way to keep them safe. I know our educators, our teachers, our children are making the same pleas and appeals to them on behalf of their peers. I remember when I was in Minnesota, the mother of a 7-year-old saying that she didn't know how to explain to her daughter why when she woke up in the morning excited to go to school and play with her best friend was suddenly disappeared. So the legacy of this administration is one of child abuse and neglect, childhood trauma, and that is not limited to the actions of ICE. There are too many examples for me to enumerate, and I'll do more of that in the weeks to come. But for today, I'm spotlighting the devastating impacts and the child abuse and neglect of children who've been directly harmed by ICE.
You know, Congresswoman, you and your Democratic colleagues, in addition to what you're doing today, have decided that they would vote to shut down the part of the government that that oversees ICE, Homeland Security, over a whole host of issues that would address some of the cruelty that you describe. Is there any progress being made in those discussions with Trump and his people, or no?
Well, no, and I should say again, we're in the position that we're in under this hostile Republican majority that moves in ways that prove they have contempt for the American people, are not in any way committed to doing the work that they have been elected to do and taken an oath to do. This could be resolved. We don't have to be held hostage in any sort of way. If they would just be people of conscience and acknowledge that the lawless, unconstitutional actions of ICE, you can't say that that's in the name of law and order when you deny people constitutional rights and due process. You cannot say that this is in the name of public safety when people are being shot in the face and in the back in broad daylight in our communities. So this has nothing to do with law and order, it has nothing to do with public safety, and it is making everyone less safe. It is making every community member from every walk of life. So we're glad that they are allegedly, pulling down from Minnesota, but I don't want them to go anywhere. And so this needs to be a bright red line. But of course, you know that I ran on a platform in 2018 as a first-time candidate for Congress to defund and abolish ICE. It has only been in existence since 2003. We do not need it for immigration enforcement, and I do not believe immigration enforcement should be being done by the Department of Homeland Security anyway. So, I mean, there are bigger, more systemic issues to address here. Again, including the need for, and we have my bill, we have pushed for that to be a part of the negotiations, and that's my legislation with Senator Markey, the Qualified Immunity Abolition Act, which would provide families that have been harmed and impacted some recourse and restitution to sue federal law enforcement. because the harm has already been done, but there has got to be some level of accountability. But again, getting back to this administration and the fact that the state of our union is traumatizing children, whether you're talking about denying hungry children food by cutting SNAP, whether you're talking about denying children with medical need health care by cutting Medicaid, whether you are talking about children running from school bus stops because they believe there's an ICE sighting and they don't know if they're about to be disappeared and taken away from their families, or whether you talk about the lawlessness and the racial profiling, the anti-blackness, the xenophobia. It is just, there are too many instances to enumerate. And although they are grown women now, I do want to also acknowledge the lack of justice and accountability for the Epstein survivors. They're grown women today, but they were children. So I don't want to take us too far off topic because, as I said, this has been a through line in my work and my advocacy. I've long believed the words of Frederick Douglass that, if we do not, it is easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men and women. And so this is work I've been doing since I was on the Boston City Council, and I will not legitimize this man. So I will not attend this union. Yeah.
I think your focus today is actually quite wonderful and appropriate, and we thank you for your time, Congresswoman. Hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was, of course, Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and we thank her, as always, for her time. Okay, coming up after this quick break, we're going to open the lines to get your thoughts on the State of the Union. Tonight, he's Jim Browdy. I'm Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR on 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
When something happens in the news, you want to hear about it from people you trust. Jim and Marjorie have been trusted news voices in New England for years, and for over a decade, they've been right here on GBH every weekday at 11 a.m. So whatever happens out there, at the courthouse, the state house, or your hometown, you can trust Jim and Marjorie to unpack it, talk it over, and bring in an expert or two to tell you more, all without commercial interruptions, thanks to your support. So help keep the conversation going. Pitch in now by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, we have this great opportunity at 888-897-9424 gbhnews.org, only for another 18 minutes or so, to take advantage of this pledge match, which means if you give $5, it becomes $10. If you give $100, it becomes $200. It doubles. Basically, thanks to the generosity of some of our Beacon Circle patrons, they have agreed to donate more money, double the money for whatever donation you give. Our pledge drive is only going on today and tomorrow, then it will be over. And we hope if you listen to this station, we're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you like what you hear, it is free, but it's not free to produce the work here. Our staff, everybody who works here, those 24 hours, 7 days a week, that's not free. We hope if you like and you have hesitated, you might give, particularly now, you can double your money, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
I don't know if Marjorie said this, the double your money thing, the match goes away in exactly 17 minutes. It is gone at 1.
Yep.
And the reason why Marjorie selfishly is happy that it's gone in 17 minutes is because she thinks that'll make it more likely you give during our show.
That's right.
And Marjorie, in all the years we've been here, is convinced that we get credit of some sort.
We do.
For a contribution that's made during our show. So let's just humor her and do it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Not only in the remaining minutes do you have a match, dollar for dollar, but you also have an opportunity for $10 a month, which becomes $20 a month, thanks to these other donors, to do an annual online 1-year subscription to the New York Times. No cooking or games, everything else, breaking news, reviews, opinion, blogs, videos, etc. It is a newspaper that has not kowtowed to power in Washington. They've decided to do their job, and they do it incredibly well. A hugely valuable resource, one of the best gifts during Pledge. And you get it for yourself or anybody you want to gift it to by calling 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And if you do, you can leave a wonderful note like Russell from Elliott, Maine, who said, it's incredibly valuable for me to hear NPR and GBH reporting each day. I especially look forward to Jim and Marjorie. Keep up the great work. Thanks to him. Thanks to you all. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. So the State of the Union is at 8 o'clock tonight. We're going to carry it live. We want to know if you're going to watch and why. What are you looking forward to? If you're not going to watch, why? Now, I should also say, because I feel the truth-telling after all these wonderful comments is important, I want to talk about the State of the Union. Marjorie doesn't give a damn about the State of the Union. The only reason she wanted that as a topic is so she'll have an opportunity through the side door to talk about the sexcapades at the Department of Labor under Donald Trump. What's going on, Marjorie?
Well,
by the way, our number is 877-301-8890. And people back in Brighton, you have to tell us when their calls because we don't have a call screen. Go ahead.
You know, I stole this from Rachel Maddow, whose monologue on Monday nights I think is really good. She was talking about the difficulty of finding a designated survivor. You know, they always have that. So if something bad happens with everybody there, Supreme Court or politicians, they'll have a designated survivor. And they thought it's tough because there's a lot of shenanigans going on in the Trump cabinet. But I didn't know about the extent of shenanigans involving Lori Chavez DeRemer, that's how you say it. She's the labor secretary, okay? So you mentioned that her husband was assaulted. I mean, was arrested for sexually assaulting.
Was he arrested?
Actually, that's a very good point.
He was banned from the Labor Department.
He may have just
been
bad
enough.
Caught allegedly sexually assaulting two staffers going into the Labor Department. He's banned from the Labor Department. And you think, gee, poor Lori Chavez DeRemer with her husband attacking these women. But then you see these headlines about her, and it says she has been taking her staff to strip clubs after office meeting. She's accused of a booze-filled fling with a staffer. That was in the Daily Beast. She's accused of drinking in the office during the workday. She is accused of travel fraud, as in making up official trips that she's supposedly doing on behalf of the government when she's really going to visit family and friends. We learned that the D.C. police are searching her office in connection with a sexual assault investigation. It just goes on and on. An inappropriate relationship with employee, affair with a security staffer. So the poor Lori Chavez DeRemer family is in big trouble. She's in big trouble and he's in big trouble, although they're not really in big trouble. You know why, Jim?
No.
Because the prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office have decided nothing to look into here, absolutely no problem. So they can't invite her to be the designated survivor. They can't invite Howard Lutnick because, of course, he was so involved with Epstein. They can't invite Hegseth because Hegseth's own mother said that he was the worst thing ever going.
No, but can't you be a little more positive? One of the people they can invite is her husband. He's going to sit in the sexual abuser section tonight at the State of the Union. Unfortunately, it's packed, so there may not be room for him. By the way, an anonymous texter says, will Marjorie's dog be attending the State of the Union and disrupting it as well?
No,
please. By the way, the dog
be.
disrupted the first hour of the show.
Yes.
877-301-8970. If you want to talk about the wild behavior at the Department of Labor, it's fine. I want to know if you're going to watch this. I cannot wait to watch this thing tonight because I'm convinced he's going to have a script and it's going to be long. And as soon as he looks at the Supreme Court justices, if either of the two he nominated who voted against him on the tariff thing are sitting there, don't you agree he's going to totally lose it in the middle of this speech?
You know, I don't know. He's pretending now it didn't matter. It's kind of like when a court found him guilty for the apartments of racist rentals to people in the apartments he and his father owned in New York City. He's done a total Roy Cohn here. He's decided that the Supreme Court loss, which was a big deal, lost him, is not a loss at all. It's great. So he might just pretend no big deal. He's
No, but there's a problem. There's
What's
a
that?
problem. Sitting behind him tonight is the sycophant to end all sycophants, Mike Johnson, the speaker, who will do and say anything. However, the tariffs that Trump switch to, that 150-day thing, which needs congressional approval to continue. Mike Johnson has said there's, quote, no consensus, meaning I don't have the votes to continue these. So I think if you combine the Supreme Court and the Johnson comment, that it's possible that Trump could explode during his long address. Let's go to Peter from Wareham. We're talking about the State of the Union tonight at 8 o'clock. You can hear it live on the radio here at 89.7. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Jim and Marjorie.
Hey.
Hi.
What's up?
I wanted to let you know that I will reluctantly watch the State of the Union tonight.
Yeah.
Simply because we still have to hear what this guy has to say, even though most of the time it's a bunch of lies and making himself feel good. And it's always such a farce. You know, I thought this morning, this is now his, I believe, 6th State of the Union, where, you know, they do the pomp and circumstance, and the Republicans do nothing but clap and think he's so wonderful. But I'm curious to see if it will be a little different today on the Republican side, because little by little, we do have some of these people in Congress that know the end game is near.
Well, yeah, I have to say, Peter, I don't think you're going to see that tonight. I hope you do, but I think the defections, for example, in the Epstein stuff, are causing another guy who appears to be far worse, if he can be worse, this guy Tony Gonzalez from Texas, a Republican congressperson, whose texts have come out soliciting some sexting from a staff person of his who then went on to die by suicide, self-immolation. I mean, unfortunately, only 3 Republican women have said he's got to resign. I still think it's too early, but listen, I hope you're right. Thank you, Peter, for your call. Anonymous texter says, State of the Union, shoot. I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. Well,
and you see the one...
Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be...
See the one right above it? I'm not watching because I gave up alcohol for Lent.
Well, I am not missing this thing. I think it is his 6th, and it will be a succession of lies. But one of the other reasons to watch, it is not inconceivable to change the topic. He may signal that he's about to attack Iran. And by the way, we're in a situation, as far as I know, where he has not said to the American people or Congress why it is that he is amassing this huge fleet potentially to Iraq, Iran. Do you have any idea what this is about?
I don't have any idea. It's very, very scary. It's very, very scary.
Jill in Medford, you have 30 seconds. That's all we have left. Hi, Jill.
The alternative to listening tonight is to listen to the People's State of the Union by MoveOn.org and
Great
Midas.
point.
And tons of people are involved, including the Human Rights Campaign and Social Security and tax fairness. So it's go to
Great
Midas
idea.
or MoveOn.org, and you listen for us, Jim, and tell us what really happened, which we probably already know, and we'll not bloat his numbers because he's going to brag about how many people listened.
Jill, you're making an excellent choice, by the way. Senator Markey is also going to be there. He is boycotting, as well as Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Jill, thanks for the pointer. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. MoveOn.org is the place to go if you're interested in that. Thank you for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. You can keep up with us 24/7 way of our podcast, or check out our TikTok page. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be speaking with Harvard National Security expert Juliette Kayyem, head of the UN Human Rights a group monitoring mission in the Ukraine, Danielle Bell. It's been going on longer than they endured World War II.
4 years.
And Haley Fortier and Alicia Towns-Franken joined for a wine panel ahead of the FemFest Wine Festival this weekend. That should be fun.
That's why we're actually showing up in the studio tomorrow.
That's right. The Taste the Wine. That's right. I want to thank our excellent crew who's weathered this terrible storm. Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, additional support from Ronan Keene, Maddie Guy ran our YouTube today. Our engineer is John LeClaw Parker. Our executive producer is Jamie Bologna. The Curiosity Desk starts immediately after we are through. And then at 2 o'clock, Jared Bowen and The Culture Show. They're at 2 o'clock. I'm Marjorie Egan.
I'm Jim Browdy. Thank
you
for
so
being with
much.
us.
We appreciate it and hope you can tune in tomorrow. And hope you can listen to The Curiosity Desk and This Culture Show right after us. And Be careful shoveling.
Bye.
Bye.
And you are listening to BPR. You are listening to BPR and GBH 89.7, and it is about 12:53, and we are in the next to the last day of our winter membership drive. It's been a really good hour. We hope that you can take a minute. We did have to suspend that fundraising due to the weather, but thanks to some folks, we're getting things back on track here. If you haven't had a chance to give, we hope you'll support your listening right now. Is a really good reason to do it right now as well. I'm Sonia Lee. He's Zach Finn, gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And that dollar for dollar match, that is still kicking right now but really only about 6 minutes left. And I know it can be really, really tempting to just kind of wait back for that perfect moment. Well, here it is. This is it. This is your moment. Sustaining gifts are also matched, and you can go ahead and double the power of your contribution right now. But just keep in mind that match is coming to a close here in 6 minutes. So get that call started. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
That's right. And if you want to pick up the New York Times as a thank you gift, support BPR and get your contribution doubled, well, this is the time to do it. New York Times, we have a great relationship with them, and I like what Jim said about the New York Times kind of holding their own and staying strong during these tumultuous times when it comes to the attack of the free press. And so we have a partnership with the New York Times. We can give you a subscription 1 year online for $10 a month as a sustaining member. We take down the paywall, basically. You get to read as much as you want. No worries about exceeding that free article limit. We got you covered. So get the New York Times, GBH, $10 a month. But that deadline's coming up later. But a good reason to do it right now is because that gift is being doubled. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And hey, we're already nearing the end of the GBH Winter Membership Drive. It actually wraps up tomorrow. So maybe that storm got in the way. Maybe the routine was interrupted because of the weather, but we'd love for you to make a contribution right now to support your GBH listening and your Boston Public Radio listening. Every single bit helps and makes a big difference. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And this is a rare opportunity to have your contribution doubled thanks to a generous group of our Beacon Circle patrons. They understand the importance of having opinions and voices like Jim and Marjorie on GBH, and that's why they're encouraging you to support your listening right now. Every dollar you give, they will kick in an additional $1. We're down to 4 minutes to go, just 4 minutes to go in this dollar for dollar match. So yeah, $50 becomes $100. You give $1,000, that becomes $2,000. Give as generously as you can, but don't miss out on having that gift doubled during BPR. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And you might say, hey, I want to support GBH, but how? Well, it's the monthly sustaining membership. That is the best possible way you can go about supporting GBH. It is so quick, so easy to set up. You just pick an amount for a recurring charge from your bank account or your credit card. A lot of folks start out at $10 a month, which is a great number, by the way, because that's going to get you the Times today. That consistent source of revenue means we can keep you informed with the news that you trust. So take those few minutes right now and sign up. It is so easy to do. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And thank you to Sherry. Give a shout out to Sherry listening in Dover, New Hampshire, making a contribution. Remember, you give that $10 a month as a sustaining member. You can pick up the New York Times. And this is a special offer just today. We're only doing this today, and you got 3 minutes left to support BPR and pick up the Times as our thank you gift. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And I want to send a huge thanks to Brad in Concord, who says ethical and honest reporting combined with fun and informative programming. Marjorie and Jim, I'm looking at you. Well, hey, Brad, we're looking at you with our gratitude. Thank you so much for sharing that comment. If you're like Brad and maybe you want to get your contribution doubled too, give us a call and get it started now. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
That's right. Just 2.5 minutes left to have your contribution doubled during BPR. More of your gift is going to help pay for your future listening. And public radio isn't like other media outlets. We don't have billionaires or shareholders steering our coverage or shaping our stories. At GBH, our commitment is to you. We ask you to give now, support a free press. And when you do, that contribution is going to be doubled. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And you make a $10 contribution to GBH, we're going to go ahead and take that paywall down for you. That's right, the New York Times digital subscriptions available today. Plus, you get access to all your favorite PBS programs with GBH Passport. How cool is that? All you got to do is give us a call, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
All righty, this is it. Last call to have your contribution doubled here. We got just a couple minutes left, and when you make that gift of $10 a month, maybe you could do even a little bit more because it's doubled right now. We're going to thank you with that New York Times. Again, that's $10 a month, $120 all at once. But again, last call here. If you're on the phone, on the web, you can still get your gift doubled for the dynamic duo, Jim and Marjorie. gbhnews.org.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's, how-tos, and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Brightbound. It's never too early to start thinking about what comes next, and Brightbound helps students from middle school through high school discover rewarding careers. Learn more at BRITE.bound.org. And Mass General Brigham. In heart surgery, expertise matters. Mass General Brigham Heart and Vascular Institute performs thousands of surgeries each year and is committed to research and innovation. massgeneralbrigham.org/heart.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, how you doing out there? Managed to shovel out yet? Today, one of the questions we're asking is, how does a meteorologist feel after a storm like the one we saw yesterday? And how much does it sting when their estimates miss the mark? Plus, we, of course, want to hear from you. The question at hand: has a series of easy winters turned us into a bunch of wimps here in southern New England? Give us a call or text. Then we take a foray into the winter follies of Boston past, thanks to our friends in the GBH Archives, including this moment from the host of a late 1980s TV series called The Great Outdoors.
On a lighter side, let me tell you about the latest in down-filled underwear. That's right.
That's right. It's all ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Lakshmi Singh. President Trump will address a joint session of Congress tonight. NPR's Ayanna Moore reports this is his first State of the Union address since returning to the White House just over a year ago.
The State of the Union is a formality, but there are potential political stakes for Trump. His speech comes at the start of an election year where Republicans are on the defensive. They're trying to keep control of Congress, but Trump is battling low approval numbers. In the latest NPR PBS News Marist poll, a majority of Americans say Trump is moving the country in the wrong direction. Low poll numbers are often a warning sign. Since World War II, the party controlling the White House historically loses an average of 27 seats in the House and 4 in the Senate in midterm elections. Ayanna Moore, NPR News.
Today is the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tells CNN that he wants to hear Trump say in his State of the Union address that he is on Ukraine's side and he wants specific security guarantees from allies post-war.
We have good things in these guarantees. It's true between us. It's true. But I want very specific answer what partners will be ready to do if Putin will come again.
For now, the Russia-Ukraine war drags on into a 5th year. An NPR investigation finds dozens of pages of documents that mention President Trump are missing from the Epstein Files database. NPR's Stephen Fowler reports those pages relate to accusations Trump sexually abused a minor more than 4 decades ago.
Internal documents from the FBI and Justice Department released in the files show investigators spoke to a woman 4 times who said she was abused by Trump in the mid-'80s when she was 13. But only her first interview is in the files with no mention of Trump. The Justice Department declined to answer NPR's questions on the record about these specific files, what's in them, and why they're not published. A White House spokeswoman said Trump has been, quote, totally exonerated, and he, quote, has done more for Epstein's victims than anyone before him. Stephen Fowler, NPR News, Atlanta.
On the heels of a storm that paralyzed transportation, shut down schools, and forced thousands of flight cancellations and delays across the Northeast, at least for some places, another one is coming. The National Weather Service is tracking a storm out of Canada that could hit the upper Great Lakes today and produce up to 2 inches of snow before it moves into Buffalo, New York. As for the latest accumulations, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration tallied the snowfall, and Rhode Island gets top mention at the airport in Providence, 37.9 inches, a preliminary state record. At last check on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 444 points, or nearly 1%, at 49,248. This is NPR News. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is scheduled to meet today with the CEO of the artificial intelligence company Anthropic. It is reported to be the only major AI firm not to supply its technology to a new U.S. military internal network. Anthropic's CEO has raised ethical concerns about unchecked government use of AI, including the dangers of fully autonomous armed drones and AI-assisted mass surveillance. The company's Claude is the only chatbot that can be used in classified settings, but the Pentagon is threatening to drop the service. The Pentagon says in order to remain a government contractor, Anthropic must loosen its safeguards. The Department of Education is moving to outsource more of its work to other federal agencies. NPR's Janet Wujongli has details.
The Department of Health and Human Services will soon help administer grants designed to support students and families, like school emergency response to violence, community schools, family engagement, and more. And on the higher ed side, the State Department will now help oversee foreign gifts and contracts to U.S. colleges. In a statement, Education Secretary Linda McMahon described the moves as, quote, a practical step toward greater efficiency, stronger coordination, and meaningful improvement, end quote. In November, the department had already moved the work of offices dedicated to elementary and secondary education, post-secondary ed, and Indian education to other government agencies. Janet Wujongli, NPR News.
The Nasdaq is up 262 points, or more than 1%. The S&P has risen 58 points, and the Dow is up 460. It's NPR.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. I think it's safe to say our multi-year streak of mainly dry winters has come to a close. I mean, it was pretty much already safe to say that before yesterday, which is maybe making it all a little harder to deal, at least mentally, with the additional 2 feet that fell from the sky and whipped around all over the place and left massive snow dunes everywhere. Now, a storm like that is obviously hard to endure on a number of levels, sure, but also reactions in some quarters have made us start to wonder, has this series of mild winters made us New Englanders, specifically those in the southern corners of the region, kinda soft? Some in the newsroom have even floated the word wimpy when it comes to enduring winter and wintry conditions. If you have thoughts on this, and I suspect some of you might, we want to know. Give us a call or a text at 877-301-8970. That's 877-301-8970. We'll get to your take shortly, but in the meantime, here to help us answer this very scientific question that we've posed, we're joined on Zoom now by GBH meteorologist Dave Epstein. Dave, thank you for making the time to be with us on the Curiosity Desk.
Yeah, Edgar, of course. Curious to be here.
Very good. Very, very good. So, Dave, I want to start just asking you, where did you ride out the storm, and what does riding out a storm look like for meteorologists? Like, in my mind, you're in sort of a basement, but it's also like a 1980s TV control room, and you've got radar screens and video feeds, and for some reason, the green dripping stuff from the Matrix is there too. Is that what it's like? I assume not. Not really.
Yeah, not at all. You know, in the days when I did television, a lot of times I'd just be in the studio, and so you'd be in the studio doing your hits, and you'd get another hit, and I'd sometimes have to step outside and, you know, maybe talk about the weather from the safety of right where the studio doors were. Yesterday, I'm out in Natick, and I'm basically providing GBH with a lot of information. Right? So we started going live with Morning Edition right at 6 o'clock, and so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just providing updates and hits. So what I'm doing in between you hearing my voice would be I'd be looking at radar, I'm looking at satellites, I'm seeing where those bands were, how much snow had fallen, so that I'm trying to give the best experience and the best information for folks who are listening, just to help folks make plans. Now, obviously, yesterday, pretty much everybody knew you were going to be inside. It was a day where you weren't going to be traveling. So that's kind of what I was doing.
So, I wonder, you sort of touch on it a little bit there, but I'm very curious and interested to know where the human element comes in a forecast, right? You talk about you're monitoring a whole bunch of data, and so if I pose it this way, if you say you had 5 different meteorologists who all had access to the same data, the same models, are they all going to reach the same conclusion, or are they going to reach 5 different conclusions? Like, what's your piece in it?
Yeah, I think that it's a great question. And so you are correct. We are all looking at the same data. Nobody has anything that's that unique in terms of data. So I think some of our personal biases get into when we're talking about the storm, like how am I conveying the storm to you? So for me, I hear a lot of hype out there just in general with everything these days. So I'm trying to be a more measured approach. And so if you heard my internal dialogue yesterday, it was like, are you being too soft on this? And I don't mean in the way that you introed the show, but am I not really talking about it enough? Am I not saying, get off the roads? Am I not making it a big enough emergency? So I want to temper the way I'm explaining the storm, but also mindful of the fact, especially without coastal flooding yesterday, most people, if you kept your power, which was the majority, at southeastern Mass, let's take that aside, but the majority of people kept their power, they were inside, they experienced the snowstorm, they probably talked with their friends, went on social media, they kind of just experienced the day and the wonder, frankly, of all of what was going on. Snowfall rates 1 to 3, 4 inches an hour. That's like, whoa, nature's doing like this thing. Look at me having the ability to watch nature.
This is good stuff. I'm talking with Dave Epstein. He's GBH meteorologist. Obviously your work in general, your work has a direct impact on people all the time, whether it be parties, weddings, vacations, just what you're doing this weekend, right? You're looking at a forecast. You're saying this is my best understanding of what's going to happen. And people are making decisions on their life based on those things. But when it comes to something like what happened yesterday, I mean, you sort of mentioned most people kept power, but that was not a foregone conclusion. When you have a storm like that, are the stakes higher? Do they feel higher for you than they do other, kind of day to day?
Oh, 100%. And the thing is that I don't want to, I don't want to get too much of my own psychology, but it's like I don't want to be wrong. And it's like I want to be perfect. And I've taught at college classrooms, and if I get 30 evaluations and one comes back no good and 29 are great, I'm focused on the one, and I want to be sure that I'm giving that best experience for everybody yesterday and ensuring that I'm helping people make decisions. And, you see, like I put something out on Instagram and there's 100,000 people who watch that. That's a lot. That kind of freaks me out a little bit. Like, I better not be saying anything that's incorrect.
We're talking with Dave Epstein, GBH meteorologist. We're talking about the storm yesterday, and we're also asking you the question, have New Englanders, after a series of fairly mild winters in the last few years, have we gone a little soft when it comes to winter? Give us a call, 877-301-8970. You can also text us at that number. Are we going soft here in New England when it comes to wintry things, when it comes to enduring the winter, when it comes to the length of the winter, when it comes to managing a storm like we had yesterday? 877-301-8970. Now, Dave, you said you didn't want to get too much into your own psychology, but I would actually like to get into it a little bit. I mean, it is a high stake. It is, as you point out, it's a high stakes thing. It's a high pressure thing. And then also with a storm like that, it's also people's safety on the line. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I'm trying to assess as much information as I possibly can, and also think about what are the majority of people going to experience, and I want to be sure that I'm giving folks that need to, like in this case, we didn't have to, but what if you had to evacuate, right? What if there's a hurricane coming up and the Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center is going to do its thing, but I have to disseminate that information in a way that makes it comfortable and sensible to people because there's so much noise out there. I want to try to help folks understand the noise and be like, listen, I know you're hearing this, but like people are hearing about a storm Wednesday. There's no storm Wednesday. It's according to an inch or something, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's get down to reality because I've seen people suffer from bad information.
You talk about bad information. You talked a little bit about trying to be the anti-hype guy. You know, I think about just talking with people that I know when it comes to coverage of the weather, with specifically storms. You know, you hear words thrown out there like sensational, even like hysterical in the terms of how coverage in particular. I'm talking about sort of TV coverage. I'm talking about kind of just, media coverage of a storm. There is this sense that everybody is losing their minds a little bit, hyping it up, and that has ramped up sort of exponentially over the years.
100%.
Do you worry about, in reality, is there a little bit of boy who cried wolf syndrome, which is to say, like, when every storm is sort of like hyped up like that, when we get to something like yesterday, certainly we think about like what happened in Rhode Island where conditions were really, really, really bad. How do you manage that?
I think for me, I'll answer it for myself. I manage it by being consistently realistic so that if I say, listen, you shouldn't be, I said this 2 days ago, you should not be on the roads from Sunday evening through midday Monday. You will not want to be on the roads. You will not be able to pass. Plows went off the roads yesterday. That happened. My snowfall amounts were low, but the impact of the storm was pretty much what I expected. And I think that by doing that judiciously, when I do it, people will listen more rather than every single storm. Oh, you shouldn't be on the roads. It's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Because then you lose credibility.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. We're talking with GBH meteorologist Dave Epstein. If you've got a question for the meteorologist, let us know. And also, we're asking you, are we starting to go soft here in New England when it comes to winter and winter storms? 877-301-8970 is the number to call. You can also text us there. We've got a message from YouTube where somebody is saying that we appreciate Dave relaying the important weather news. So you got one vote in your favor right there, Dave Epstein.
There we go.
Dave, you talked about not wanting to get it wrong, and you just sort of alluded to, you were like, my snow totals were a little low there. So obviously you are evaluating yourself. How do you evaluate yourself as you move along, and how does that inform what you do going forward?
Yeah, I'm not promoting my Instagram channel, but I put a 4-minute video out this morning talking about this. And I think that what I was comfortable with yesterday was the lack of coastal flooding, the timing of the storm, that it was going to be big, that we were going to see snow. I loved what I did from roughly the Mass Pike north, even a little bit south of the Pike. Obviously, the snowfall amounts for Rhode Island, Bristol County, down toward the Cape and the Islands were too low. And so I just honestly say, listen, that I need to hone in on that a little bit better. And I think for me, we talk about Boston so much, I become Boston-centric.
Yeah.
And so I have to be careful to also remember that somebody in Barnstable or somebody in Pawtucket or somebody out in Townsend on Route 2 may also need that information. And I have to be sure I'm spreading myself out in that way to convey all that.
Can you take us inside a little bit? The challenge of why it might be hard to do what you do accurately, like, the sense of, you're saying, like, I think I was right on this, I was right on that, I was a little off when it came to the snow totals, in this region, that region. Like, what are the challenges you're facing as you're actually trying to predict the weather?
Yeah, the challenges are that, the models themselves are basically what we all use. And then there's some pattern recognition. Like yesterday, the Rhode Island, I think everybody said Rhode Island, southeastern Mass would have the heaviest snow and the most power outages. And that's because of pattern recognition. If you were here for the blizzard of 78, the storms in 93, the President's Day storm in 2013, the pattern looks similar. Like the storm may not be identical, but there's a way in which if a storm passes between 40 degrees north and 70 degrees west, it kind of does this. So we sort of know that. And then the question is what are the extremes? And some of the models did a pretty good job putting out 30 plus amounts. So, how much do you rely on those? How much do you buy it? Where do you temper yourself? And it's just a lot of internal thinking. And also, I checked in with a couple of colleagues because I'm doing this alone. So there's a couple of colleagues that I've worked with in the past, and I'm like, hey, what are you thinking on this? And that helps as well.
How many models are you managing? Like, when you kind of say some of the models, like what are the models and how many are there?
I mean, the two big medium range models are the GFS American and the Euro, which is the European model. But then there's also the UK Met, which is from the UK. There's the Japanese model. I looked at those as well. The Canadians have a model. And then once we get closer to the storm, we have the NAM, which is a short range North American model. It's basically our North America area. And then there's the high resolution rapid refresh, HRRR. And that only goes out to about 18 hours, and that's a great model for during the storm. So that model started to hone in on the fact that heaviest snow is going to be just a little bit further south, just under Boston, which it was. Boston 16.9. I had the maximum in Boston at 16. I'm comfortable if I'm off by 0.9 inches every single time.
that's your margin of error. That's your personal margin of error. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. We're talking with GBH meteorologist Dave Epstein about the storm. If you got a question for him about how he predicts the weather as best as he can, let us know. Also, we're asking you, do you think New Englanders are going soft when it comes to enduring the winter? We've got a call right now from Callie in Boston. Callie, what do you have for us here on the Curiosity Desk?
Well, I'm one of the biggest snow wusses on the planet. In fact, I'm the queen of the snow wuss. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be in it. I should not be on the road, all of that stuff. So I don't think for me, as with a person with Southern roots, that I see New Englanders as losing it. They seem to have a big grip on how to handle it, and they seem very calm. I'm the one in the grocery store. They are not. But I learned one valuable lesson from New Englanders, which I employed this time, and it worked. I have a little balcony I have to clean off, and instead of waiting until the end and then try to shovel 18 inches, you're supposed to go out there frequently. Don't let it stop. And that's what I did. And I woke up this morning, my balcony was completely clean. So, hey, New Englanders, no snow. I don't think there wusses.
All right. Callie from Boston, frequent caller to the show and colleague extraordinaire. Thanks for checking in. You're doing safe there, Callie.
Yes, I'm hanging in.
All right. Well, enjoy that view from the balcony since it's so cleaned off. We appreciate the call. Dave, I see you nodding there. That idea of snowing as you go, that does feel like a very New England thing. I think folks who have spent a lot of time here and had many winters here kind of know that you agree that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. I mean, yesterday I did it twice. The pin in the snowblower broke. I ended up driving twice to the hardware store because the first pin I got was too short. So I did two drives yesterday between 3 and 5 o'clock on the roads between Natick and Needham. It was slow, but it was passable by then.
All right, you're listening to the Curiosity on GBH. We're talking with GBH meteorologist Dave Epstein about the storm. Taking your calls, 877-301-8970. We got a text from Grace in Westboro, Dave, who asks, are they using AI in their models? We were just talking about weather modeling. And also, I'll sort of follow up to that and ask, I think we're all experiencing in real time these great leaps that AI are taking in real time before our eyes. So are they using them now, and how do they stand to look different, maybe say a year from now?
Yeah, I think the AI weather model is rapidly increasing in usability. We started using it last winter. This winter, we have, again, looking at it. The AI model did okay. So we have the AI GFS and the AI Euro right now. And so we get to look at both of those. And they're good in the medium range or the longer range, I think, to at least look at and sort of think what that AI model's doing. One of the problems with the AI as of right now is that when you get closer to these short-term events and also a storm that's sort of unprecedented, the AI doesn't kind of know that, it's only knows that Providence only had whatever it was, 28 inches of snow. So it's like, well, how could it have 38 inches? At least right now, that's the way.
Yeah, it's like does not compute, has never happened.
It doesn't compute, right? It hasn't happened, so it's not going to predict it.
All right, so we're talking with Dave Epstein, a meteorologist for GBH. You mentioned unprecedented situations. Anybody, I think if you live in New England, if you've moved here within 1 or 2 winters, or maybe the first storm you experience, somebody will start making comparisons to the blizzard of '78. So the sort of storm against which all storms are measured. How does the one we had yesterday sort of stack up against the blizzard of '78? How was it the same and how was it different?
Yeah, so they're both low pressure areas. They both were strong storms. They both took a track up the coast and then off towards the east. Blizzard 78 actually was a little bit closer to Nantucket. It also did a loop. It also stalled. So the Blizzard 78 had 4 high tide cycles which were impacted. This had 1. That's one of the reasons why we didn't have much coastal flooding. I think that if you were in Sharon, Massachusetts, Bridgewater, Massachusetts in 1978, and you were in this storm in the same area, you would have experienced a very similar kind of storm. But if you were in Situate, if you were in Revere, if you were anywhere along the coastline, Marblehead in 1978, this storm pales in comparison. So one's experience is going to be very dependent on your location in a storm like this. Houses falling into the sea back in 1978. We did not see this at this point. We did not see the flooding that we saw. Portland, Maine, for example, the old Orchard Street Pier collapsed and went into the sea in 1978. We didn't see anything like that in this storm. But in terms of snowfall, kind of similar in portions of Rhode Island with the wind and the snow, but not quite as long-lasting. And we also didn't have the cars off the roads and all of that stuff in the same manner.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of mentioned the cars on the roads, which I know is like an enduring part of the blizzard of '78. And I kind of wonder, you point out there's the Mother Nature piece of this, and here's how the storm's the same and here's how it's not. But one of the other big differences is that we're a long way from 1978, and our communication around storms, our advanced warning around storms has, I assume, altered significantly since then. Maybe I'm wrong. How has that changed when we look at the blizzard of '78 and today when it comes to just how prepared we are in terms of understanding what's coming down the pike?
Yeah, it's like comparing the 1920s to 1978, right? It's the same distance, right? And so here we are in 2026. And, first of all, the models that we use were just coming out. We had something called the LFM back then. It was the Limited Fine Mesh Model, and that's what I was using in high school. We get them more frequently. We get them, in some cases, hourly, in some cases every 3 to 6 hours. We have internet. We have our phones. We have just so much more information. We are just so much better informed so that what happened in '78 with people just being shocked would probably not happen again. One of the things, Edgar, that I think about is imagine a storm like yesterday, and you were on your farm in 1650, right? And you had to deal deal with your chickens and your cows, right? And you had your little outhouse that you had to get to yesterday, right? And you had your kid and boiling water and no electricity, and you didn't even know that was coming. Right? I mean, imagine that.
And you didn't have a snowblower. I mean, you just got a shovel. Just got a shovel.
And who knows what the shovel was?
We're going to turn to the phone lines again. We've got David in Wellesley. David, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. I think we might have lost David. I don't hear David anymore. All right, so we're going to go back to Dave Epstein. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk, and we're talking with GBH meteorologist Dave Epstein. Dave, Jeff in Acton has texted us asking about how long should we expect to wait before this snow melts?
It's a great question. I actually just sent in to the editors at the Globe an article about this. So I looked at Blue Hill, since it's the longest continually operated climate site in North America.
Right.
So I looked at all the snowfall on the ground going all the way back to the 1800s. And there's actually very few years where you have continuous snow all the way from January through February into March and into April. One of them, you could guess, 2014-15. So it took until the first week of April to get rid of all the snow. And it's going to take at least another couple of weeks. It may take till the second half of March or even early April before we really start seeing all the ground gone. I think snowbanks are going to be here well through April and even into May, but they're not the snowbanks on the side of the roads, just the big ones at the parking lots.
Dave, I've only got a couple minutes left. I got a couple more questions for you. First, I'd like to ask, do you think New Englanders have gone soft when it comes to weather? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that we live in a world where, and myself included, we are very we don't like inconvenience.
Yeah,
right?
the creature comforts.
We're very comfortable. And when my power went out yesterday, and it did come back on, thank you, Eversource. But it you're used to this, and we think that we want this now, and that's why I brought up the 1600s example. It's like we can make it through this stuff. Like it's not in rare situations is this going to be life altering. It's just an inconvenience, and to be inconvenienced is just part of life. And like these things are happening, and I can't do anything about it. What's in my control is how I respond to something. I can't control what's coming at me, but I can control how I respond to it. So, hey, the power's out. I've just got to deal with it and not get upset and not go through all that mental exercise where you're suffering through a storm like that.
Well, and one final thing for you, Dave, here. We hear you talking about your gardening a lot on our air. I just want to ask you how your plants and your winter garden did through the storm.
Yeah, the winter garden, actually the voles have decimated. I've got some stuff undercover. I looked under there about a week ago, and everything's just gone because there's so much snow. They're not eating anything, so they found that. I have one little lone tomato plant behind me, which I need to repot and hopefully get into the garden in another 8 weeks or so, but yeah. I got to keep it going until then.
All right, we've been speaking with GBH meteorologist Dave Epstein. Dave, thanks for your time today.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, whatever your feelings about winter are, this massive storm did send us looking for advice and solace from regions where extreme snow and cold are just a normal part of an average winter. For that, we hit the Curiosity Desk archives for this story from a few winters back.
It's a mild December Saturday in Quebec City. The streets and sidewalks are clear now, but they won't be for long.
Sometimes we see the news in Boston about a winter storm, and we laugh a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, guys. We're just like, oh my God.
Jasmine Ains has lived in this city 400 miles north of Boston for a decade. He and lifelong resident Kathleen Rousseau say snow in Quebec is a vital community experience.
It's a part of us because when you see a lot of snow in front of a house, probably you'll see 3-4 people are coming, to help.
Like many residents here, they carry extra socks everywhere in winter, and both have a pair of boots with retractable cleats. There are also these ingenious tent-like tunnels which cover many of the driveways in and around the city.
The tempo.
Yeah. These vinyl pop-up shelters make shoveling out after every storm a thing of the past. Now, the sun sets a little earlier in Quebec City than it does here in Boston, so they, like us, deal with winter's short days. But it's nothing compared to Barrow, Alaska.
We're the furthest established community on the North American continent.
That's Cindy Schultz, a 40-year resident of this 4,000-person town on the banks of the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah, the beginning of November is when the sun drops for the last time, and January 22nd is when it rises.
That's right. 65 straight days of darkness, 24 hours a day.
I want everybody there to quit their whining.
All kidding aside, Schultz says the darkness and the depression that can accompany it can be daunting.
When I first got up here, I had a really, really difficult time with the darkness, and I'm a happy-go-lucky, easygoing person.
But she's learned. Vitamin D, plenty of light, even if it's artificial, and getting out of the house are musts. And she says, as simple as it sounds, surround yourself with things you love. For instance, she keeps her Christmas lights up all winter long. Beyond that, she says, just slow down.
Everybody is on EST time. We call it Eskimo Standard Time. It's a slower pace than it is in your neck of the woods. And it makes life a lot easier.
Schultz says the cold is actually far more manageable than the dark in Barrow. And so you want cold? I give you Muonio in Finnish Lapland.
Today I picked up my 5-year-old girl from the daycare, and it was minus 28, and they were playing outdoors.
For the record, that's about negative 18 in Fahrenheit. And with plenty more days like this, and worse on the horizon, Nina Pietikainen says 'tis the season for the layers.
3 pairs of woolen socks, long underwear, another set of wool or fleece underwear. Then you put an overall on, you put a hat, you put a balaclava, put a scarf on top of that. Then you put probably 2 pairs of gloves.
Pietikainen says washing your hands with warm water when you come inside helps, as does a glass of red wine by the fire. But in a country of 5 million people and 3 million saunas, there's only one way to truly beat the cold like a Finn.
You get a shower, then you go into the sauna, you get warm, then you come outside. Some people go outdoors and roll in the snow or go ice swimming, and then you go back into the sauna.
If there's one thing that life in these unique, extreme locales seems to have imbued in all of these folks, it's a remarkable perspective. The real key to surviving winter, they say, is not to fight it off, but to let it in.
Put your gloves on, put your hat on, woolen socks and a jacket, and just do a snowman or go sledding, tobogganing, and really just enjoy the fact that we have winter.
Even if it's a little bit cold, dark, and snowy.
Stay with us. Just ahead, we're basking in the winters of Boston Pass with the help of the team at the GBH Archives. This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk, where we answer your questions. We turn these little wonderings into in-depth conversations with voices across different fields. Unique listener-driven shows like ours only exist with listener support. Your support. Consider supporting the Curiosity Desk today and help continue these insightful and wonderful investigations into the unknown. Call 888-897-9424 or visit gbhnews.org.
That's 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. 2 easy ways to make your pledge today. I'm Patty Daniels from GBH News. I'm here with Aidan Connolly,
Yes, you
senior
are.
producer of the Curiosity Desk.
I know. I'm so excited to be pledging with you.
Aidan, I'm so impressed with what your team has built with the Curiosity Desk. The show's only been with listeners for a few weeks now, and it's a testament to GBH investing in more local programming, more local reporting, more local news. It also shows your investment in the side of news that genuinely piques our curiosity. It's not a place for argument and vitriol. It is a place for genuine learning. So thank you so much for bringing the show to us, to listeners. And listeners, you can support this effort by pledging now, 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
And of course, I mean, we don't need to tell you, federal funding from public media stations, including GBH, has been eliminated. We're relying on you. And the only way to remain strong is if you are donating, whether that's $5 one time, $5 sustaining, $50, any more. We're asking you to really stand with GBH in this moment. Again, that number, 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
And like Aidan was saying, funding from you is critical, and there's a lot of easy ways to give. Sustaining membership, obviously the easiest. You can decide what fits your monthly budget, make that donation once, and know that it will be recurring and sustaining GBH far future. And today, if you make that sustaining membership for $10 a month, we are going to send you a thank you gift of even more news, a subscription to the New York Times, annual online subscription to the New York Times for your $10 a month gift to GBH.
That gives you unlimited anytime access to all New York Times content. That's breaking news, Patty. That's reviews. We have opinion blogs if you feel like you don't have enough opinions in your life and you need more. That's also videos, and it's simultaneous logins across devices. If you're trying to check it on your phone, it works. If you're trying to check it on your laptop, it works. Just $10 a month or give $120 all at once, whatever works for you, whatever is easiest. And there is a deadline for this, 7 o'clock. Give online now at gbhnews.org, or what's the number, Patty?
888-897-9424. So you're a careful listener to GBH, so you know that yesterday was a weird day across the region, and it was a day that GBH decided it's not a day for a membership drive. It's really a day for focusing on the news and making sure that our region had information it needed to stay safe, stay off the roads, to know what was going on, to know what emergency services were available. GBH really doubled down on its commitment to service, journalism as a public service to our region yesterday. And now we're making up the difference today and hoping that you'll join that effort to make sure our pledge drive still ends on time and successfully. You can do that by pledging now, 888-897-9424 or make your gift at gbhnews.org.
And, I don't have to tell you, when we're not in a snow crisis emergency, this past 3 weeks of content on the Curiosity Desk, we've brought you some really, exciting, fun, insightful stories. You heard our interviews with the women trying to end ovarian cancer. You'd heard us talking with a folklore expert about the origins of Friday 13th. We had Mark Philbin from The Globe doing Ask the Remodeler, taking your personal home remodeling questions. Say you got a crisis at home, your pipes are bursting, the water is rising. Who are you going to call? The Curiosity Desk. And it's just been a joy, and we're looking forward to doing more of it. But that requires your support today at 888-897-9424 or online, gbhnews.org.
Thank you so much for supporting more local reporting, more local journalism, and supporting GBH's effort to keep that service going for you. 888-897-9424. Pledge online at gbhnews.org. Thank you.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. There's an old saying that goes something like, today's news will be lining tomorrow's waste paper bin. Nothing could be further from the truth for the team at the GBH Archives. A few days ago, we were paid a visit by two of the folks who make the archives go, Sammy Driscoll and Rebecca Fraimow. Together, they curated some gems from the vast collection of GBH's 7-decade history of broadcast, all around the theme of, and this is perfect for this week, wintertime in New England.
Unsurprisingly, people in Boston have always been really concerned with snow, even going back to the 1950s.
Great. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News.
Absolutely.
So there's an old saying, and there are a few versions of it, but it goes something like, today's news will be lining tomorrow's waste paper bin. Nothing could be further from the truth for our next guests. Whether it's the very first GBH radio broadcast from Boston Symphony Hall in October of 1951, episodes of Zoom, the 10 o'clock news, Say Brother, Greater Boston, raw footage from a local Dunkin' Donuts in the 1980s that you might have seen on social media, or even, eventually, this show that we are doing right now, they all remain thanks to the GBH Archives. For nearly 7 decades, they have been on the front line of history, ensuring long-term preservation and access to GBH's vast archive of programming and original materials so that they're available to producers, scholars, educators, students, and curiosity seekers like you. Each month, we're going to spend some time with a few members of the Archives team and do a little treasure hunting in what is a vast trove of gems. Today, we are joined by Sammy Driscoll, Archives Shutdown Project Manager, and Rebecca Fraimow, Manager of Digital Operations and Ingest. Welcome, both of you, to the Curiosity Desk.
Thanks so much for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So let's begin by talking a little bit about what the Archives is and what you do.
For sure. Sammy, you want to start?
That's so cool.
That's what it is. The weather reports coming in from the Weather Bureau. Hold everything.
Heavy snowfall expected this evening in Living Room Village and Kitchen City. Temperature already down below freezing. 12 inches of snow expected before morning. Cars, trucks, trolleys, and buses warned to stay home. Heavy snowfall will stop all traffic by morning.
Mercy sakes, Mr. Snowplowman. You'd better get busy.
So this was from Children's Circle, program number 70, Katie the Tractor.
So 70. So does that mean they did 69 of these before this, or is that?
Yeah.
Wow. So there was a lot of these.
This aired between 1951 and 1955. It stopped when GBH actually launched its television programming in 1955. So this was a radio-only program. The first GBH, idea of what it was presenting was like a School of the Air, University of the Air. So the idea was just to broadcast educational programming that anyone could access, didn't have to pay for, it was free, including this kind of preschool education.
I like this, when you listen, I'm immediately struck anyway by the fact that very much like Mr. Rogers eventually would, she's directly addressing you, right, in a very calm way. And you sort of hear that immediately. Like, it's a very interesting way to do it.
Yeah, she has a nice storyteller narration, very calm, lots of pauses. And this show actually went on to become the first television program, Come and See, which was a show for children from Tufts Nursery Training School. So it, went on. It started as radio program, and then it went on air as a television program.
Let's hear a little more from this episode. Let's see if I think we have a little more sound here.
You can hear his snowplow's motor going up Kitchen Drive.
It's like an accurate snowplow.
Yeah.
Again, you really got to train those Boston kids early.
What is the story she's telling?
So the story, from what I can tell, is it's like an imaginary playscape, and she's talking about shoveling snow and clearing the city's sidewalks and things that we're still doing today.
Yes, this is very relevant for our times.
Right, and kids have always been fascinated by, you sort of have to imagine what kids were obsessed with before snowplows and garbage trucks and fire trucks were invented, because every kid loves those things. Yeah. And so she's kind of talking the kid in the living room through imagining a blizzard, imagining what the snowplow does, imagining how he plows his 12 inches of snow and has to go back home at the end of the day.
Very, very cool. So we're talking about winter themes, and every 4 years there's a thing that happens in the wintertime. We just experienced the latest cycle of it, which is the Winter Olympics. Of course, that has also been going on for years, and you've got some kind of Winter Olympics related stuff that you brought to us. The first of which relates to one of the most famous moments in U.S. Winter Olympic history, which is, of course, the Miracle on Ice.
Up to Schultz, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
That's Al Michaels with his famous call. That, of course, is not what you have in the archives, but you do have something that is related to it.
Yeah, so we went looking for Olympics-related content in the archive, and we were kind of excited to find this one because up until 2 years ago, we wouldn't have known we had it. It's an interview with Jack O'Callahan, who was one of the hockey players from Boston that played in that Winter Olympics game where they unexpectedly defeated the Soviet team. But this wasn't part of a program on the Olympics or anything like that. It was part of a series of interstitials that we filmed on a tape that was just labeled "No Irish Need Apply."
This is a physical tape in the archives. You're kind of going through the process of doing your digitization. You see this one, and there's a piece of tape on it that says "No Irish Need Apply" or something like that.
There's probably a tape. There's a tape label on the physical tape, and we have a whole database that has that metadata. So sometimes our metadata is really sparse.
And sometimes it's inaccurate.
Yeah, there's also that.
So as you're digitizing it, somebody is watching along as it's being digitized? Is that it?
So we send a lot of our stuff out to a vendor to be digitized. When it comes back, because there's, again, this project where we sent a bunch of stuff out to be digitized. We digitized 80,000 tapes for that project. And we watched maybe 10% of them just to make sure that the stuff was coming back and it looked good. And this happened to be one of the ones that someone was watching and actually cataloged in detail. And we tried to prioritize things that we didn't know much about for that. So because we had no metadata about this one, we're like, someone should take a look and see what this actually is.
Incredible. Let's hear a little.
We weren't that much aware of the media blitz that was going on throughout the country. Until we got home, when I arrived in Boston with Michael Rizzioni and Dave Silk, and with throngs of people waiting for us. Kevin White had sent a limousine for me. When I came over the bridge, through the tunnel, and over the bridge into Charlestown, I asked the driver, why don't you take a drive around the town and see who's out, maybe a few friends that I haven't seen in a while, and there was no one at all, anywhere, out of the corners or anywhere, the usual hangouts were. So I drove around, I figured it was supper time, and just we'll go to my house, David, and sit down and talk with my family. And we turned the corner to Concord Street, and all the people in the town were waiting in front of my house. 1,000 people getting 1,000 people in Charlestown together for one event, it's not the easiest thing to do, but something like this, it just pulled them together so much. And I think that's what really happened throughout the nation, maybe throughout the world.
Wow, so that's Jack O'Callahan, member of the 1980 U.S. men's hockey team.
Yeah. This actually was supposed to go after, and did go after, a documentary from the BBC called Ireland, A Television History.
Okay.
And so they were airing this BBC documentary in Boston on GBH. They were like, well, we got to have some Boston Irish content in here. So they did all these little segments, including this interview with Jack O'Callahan. This was just 2 years after they'd won the Olympics.
Incredible stuff. We're talking with Sammy Driscoll and Rebecca Fraimow from the GBH Archives. We're talking about some of the gems in the GBH Archives that are winter-related, and that includes one final show which you plucked. And that includes one final show which you have scoured over and plucked out some beautiful little moments. This is a show called The Great Outdoors. Tell me about The Great Outdoors.
Yeah, this was a 13-part series. It aired on GBH in 1984, and the goal was just to kind of get people outside. So the host, Jim Tabor, just kind of went out and did outdoor activities and then was like, and you could do this too. You could get in a canoe. You could go dog sledding.
Build a tent.
And that was it. It was 13 parts, half an hour, hour long.
Half an hour, different rotating list of segments. He did a lot of modeling, sort of outdoor fashion, useful things that you might need to not get frostbite.
All right, let's get a little taste of The Great Outdoors and what it was all about.
When I walked out of my hotel room this morning, it was, are you ready for this? 26 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Woo. Now, that might be a little chilly for even the sweatiest of you summer sufferers, but I'll tell you, the dogs, they love it that cold. In fact, the colder it is, the better they run, and the dogs are what these 2 days of celebrations and competitions here are all about.
These dogs were originally bred for draft work, but as the years went on, people started racing them, and as the dogs got faster, the shape became more greyhound-like.
They remind me of human marathoners.
I definitely hear the dogs in there.
Oh, yeah, they're excited.
They have a very thin coat, short coat. These dogs do not sweat like people, so they aren't able to get rid of their heat that way. They have to pant, and that's how they get rid of their heat. So the less coat they have, the less overheated they get when they run.
Okay,
These dogs have to run 20 miles as fast as they can.
Is Jay here shivering because he's cold or just because he's eger for the run?
Jay wants to get running.
He sure does.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can't hold them much longer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
So what happens after this? They put Jim Tabor on the sled with Jay the dog, and he immediately falls off.
Does he really?
Yeah, he absolutely does.
Oh, that's so good.
Also, these aren't huskies. Like, they look like different kinds of dogs.
Yeah. Where was he where this happened?
This was up in Maine. They do a lot of dog sled racing up in Maine. It's not just the Iditarod. And the woman he's interviewing, she was an 11-time winner of these dog sled races that they would have up in Maine. So she was a champion.
Incredible. What do we know about him? What do we know about the host? Did he host other things, or his only appearance here at GBH is as the host of this Great Outdoors?
That's a great question. I only know him as part of the Great Outdoors, but I'd have to do a little more looking and see whether he did anything else for us. So I'll get back to you with that next time.
All right. So this is from 1984, and obviously things have changed in many ways from 1984, but. Sometimes good advice is just good advice. And
true.
You have also selected a moment where Jim has some good advice for people in 1984 that maybe is still good advice today. You want to tell us about what this last clip you have for us is?
Yeah, well, it gets really cold. It's gotten really cold in Boston just this winter. We've all experienced this. And when it's really cold, you have to dress for the weather.
Lots of layers. Let's roll tape.
I don't mean to imply that the Great Outdoors in winter is a totally intimidating place. On a lighter side, let me tell you about the latest in down-filled underwear. That's right. Look what I have here for the ladies. And over here for the men. In this item, one size fits all, of course. Now, these really are filled with 100% prime northern goose down. They're color coordinated, so there's absolutely no confusing the function. And they may seem frivolous, but I'll tell you something. It's a lot better to have these and not need them than to be in a position where you need them and don't have them.
And then he just skis away.
Beautiful button on the end by Jim right there. So if people want to interact with the archives in some form or fashion, what's the best way they can do that?
Oh, what a great question. We do have social media accounts. You can find us just about anywhere at GBH Archives. But if you want to watch full programs and see, do a bit of a deeper dive in our collection, there's a website called openvault.wgbh.org. I'll say that again, Open Vault, like the vault is open for anyone, .wgbh.org. And from there, you can look at some of our programs that we've been able to put up. You can see some exhibits that we put together about GBH history.
There's all the GBH series, and then that site also links out to our affiliated site, the American Archive of Public Broadcasting, which is an initiative that GBH Archives and the Library of Congress has to collect and have all of the media from public broadcasting organizations across America and beyond a little bit.
So if you want to watch Zoom, if you want to watch Say Brother, if you want to watch some of the cool stuff that we've played today in full, definitely go check that out.
All right, Sammy Driscoll, Archive Shutdown Project Manager, and Rebecca Fraimow, Manager of Digital Operations and Ingest for the GBH Archives. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
And that about does it for us for now. Stay with GBH just ahead on The Culture Show. Comedian and painter Sam Kisajukian talks with Jared Bowen about how he turned his bipolar diagnosis into a one-man show. It's a funny and serious exploration of art and mental health. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Loss, and Nicole Garcia. Patty Daniels is the one we can count on to always shovel us out. Our engineer today is John the Claw Parker. Special thanks to David Goodman and Andrew Massawa for their audio engineering prowess. We'll be right back here in 23 short hours on GBH 89.7 and streaming on YouTube when we'll dig into the long history of snow removal in Boston, from horse-drawn rollers to Snowzilla. Until then, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay safe and curious out there.
This is the GBH Winter Membership Drive, and it ends tomorrow. If you have yet to give, then please make your contribution right now. Giving now will help pay for your Curiosity Desk listening in the months ahead, and you'll help to wrap up the fun drive tomorrow. gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Kiki Law, joined here with Sam Derringer.
The goal right now is 6 contributions in the next 6 minutes. We need the financial support of everyone who relies on GBH to keep this important service on the air and available to all. And GBH has been your source of credible news, and your contribution now will help keep it that way. Listener contributions empower us to investigate, verify, and report the truth. So please give now to help meet the goal of 6 contributions in the next 6 minutes. We can do this. gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
And today only we'll say thank you with an online annual subscription to the New York Times with your contribution of $10 per month or $120 all at once. The facts are important to you. That's why you're listening to GBH. So the New York Times is a perfect companion to your listening. Give $10 a month or $120 all at once and get access to the Times. But the deadline is tonight at 7. You're listening right now. Make your gift right now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
Okay, so sometimes you just want to turn the radio off because the news gets that intense. But you stay with it because you know that NPR and GBH are going to help make some sense of it all. And you know you're going to meet people and hear stories beyond the headlines that broaden your horizons and stimulate your imagination. By the time you finish listening, you're ready to brave the world once more. We're able to provide this service only through the generosity of our GBH members, listeners who also give money. So please join them by giving just $5 or $10 per month so we can keep serving you in the months ahead. Again, that is gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
During this membership drive, we are asking you to become a monthly sustaining member of GBH. It's similar to how you pay for other news and entertainment services, but at GBH, we don't have a paywall or limit to what you can listen to or read. You choose a monthly amount that's automatically deducted from your bank account or credit card. $5 or $10 per month is pretty easy on the wallet, and that consistent source of revenue will keep the fact-based news you trust on the air. So make your contribution right now, gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
Okay, so here's the deal. The GBH Winter Membership Drive ends tomorrow. However, yesterday, Mother Nature took over. If you didn't get a chance to give yesterday or this morning, we'd love for you to make your contribution right now. Your financial support is essential so that we can continue to pay for the fact-based news you rely on. The drive ends tomorrow, so giving now will help us wrap it up successfully. gbhnews.org, or when you call 888-897-9424.
And a big GBH thank you to Heather in Webster, Jennifer in Yarmouthport, and Jeanette in Jamaica Plain, who says GBH 89.7 is a wonderful daily companion. Well, Jeanette, I'm so glad we could be your companion. You're a companion to us by making your contribution right now. You can join along with Heather, Jennifer, and Jeanette by making a contribution right now, because we only now need 3 more contributions in the last couple of minutes. Get your gift in right now so that you can say you're a fan of the Curiosity Desk and make your gift right now. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And before 7 p.m. tonight, we have a limited time special offer for $10 a month or $120 all at once. You will receive an online subscription to the New York Times. The facts are important to you, and that's why you listen to GBH, and the New York Times is a perfect companion to your listening. You don't want to miss out on this special offer again before 7 p.m. tonight. Get your New York Times subscription, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Giving takes just 2 minutes of your time. We need your name and your contact information, both of which we'll keep private, and then you can sign up as a sustaining member with a recurring monthly payment from your bank account or credit card. You can also make a one-time gift as well, but whatever you choose, it only takes just a minute. So get your gift in right now, 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Now that federal funding for public media stations, including GBH, has been eliminated, the future of this public service is not secure. And the only way to ensure that we remain strong, reporting on the facts, and holding lawmakers accountable is with contributions from our listeners. So we ask you to stand with GBH in this moment. The monthly sustaining membership is a great way to do that, or increase your monthly gift by a few dollars more. That's gbhnews.org, or again, when you call 888-897-9424, that's 888-897-9424, and thanks.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Mass General Brigham Health Plan, providing coverage plans for individuals, families, employers, and retirees with benefits that help you live in your moment. More at massgeneralbrighamhealthplan.org. Henry Louis Gates Jr. maps the roots of musicians Lizzo and Flea, traveling across the globe to find stories of the ancestors who inspired their work. Watch Finding Your Roots, tonight at 8 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org.